That's right. It's Wednesday night, 6:15. Infidels, Conspiracy Horsemen live at twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horsemen. Everyone join the chat room. Get in the house with the hacker Hameen army. All the brothers are here except for the Greek god himself, but we've got a great replacement tonight. Raymond Wiley, expert on the Georgia Guidestones, has joined us tonight, and that's what we're talking about, infidels. The warning from the NWO, these pillars of, well, what it could be, eugenics, the end of the population control. We'll see what it is, but tonight at twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horsemen in the house. Y'all, that's right, infidels. hackerhameen.podbean.com, iTunes, and Russo Brand Realm Network, bringing you the greatest podcast, the greatest vlog, wherever you can find it. Also at youtube.com/BinHameen, infidels. So here we go. That's right. They'll stone you when you're trying to be so good. They'll stone you like they said they would. They'll stone you when you're trying to go home, but I would not feel so all alone. They'll stone you when you are all alone, but everybody must get stoned, infidels. And tonight, it's the Georgia Guidestones here on your Conspiracy Horsemen. YOLO. Yes. Guys, what's going on? What's good in the hood? Hami and Army, glad to see you guys filling up the chat room so quickly. Everything's been pretty decent for us. We're excited about the week ahead and all the work we've got to do. A lot of shows coming up. A lot of matches for old hacker Hameen, so we'll see how ready he is for All Bin on 6:30. I might have to have these guys carry the load, but, we're going to put on a hell of a show. Live Conspiracy Horsemen at the Dynasty Show on the 30th of June in Rome. So if you're a fan, you're in the area, or even if you got to travel a ways, it's going to be worth it to come check that out and to check out All Bin, to have all four of us there. Yeah, man, pumped for tonight's show because Big Stevie Cool actually just took a field trip out to the Georgia Guidestones, got some awesome drone footage. It's been covered on a couple other conspiracy shows, so it's something we're definitely into, and the warnings, and if you don't know about it, you're going to know about it after tonight. So just taking a trip around the horn, want to say what's up to all my guys tonight. Sal, how you doing, man?
What's going on, gentlemen? It's a good word. Everything's good over here in PA. I'm kind of excited because I have to be 100% honest. I don't know a lot about the Guidestones. I started doing research, looking up stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to learn more about them because, again, this is something that's kind of new on my radar.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that there's these, monuments and monoliths right in America that are right in your face. Like we've said before many times, they're going to hide it right in plain sight and, put a different spin on it, as we talked about things at the Denver airport that probably shouldn't be there as well. I think this is the continuation of that. Stevie, you had a good time going out there, I know, man, flying in the no-fly zone with the drone.
Now, yeah, talking about the drone, and the drone's not number 2, right?
No.
No, it's not the drones you watch every Monday and Tuesday night. This is a different drone that you fly over with a 4K camera. No, I took a lot more video footage. I used it was kind of like a test run for what we're doing with the Giants. But lo and behold, my wonderful wife, the little researcher that she is, actually found our guest tonight because I was looking up different stuff. Raymond's information comes up pretty much top of the search charts, but she did her research and everything within like an hour. She was telling me about Ray, and I was getting a little jealous because she was talking so much about Ray, more about him than me. So, yeah, you better watch it. That's right. But I went out to Georgia Guidestones, and you're right, Ben. And Ray can speak on this when we talk to him. There's no like advertisement. There's no like tourism for this place. There's nothing really out there that shows you like this is where they are, unless you look it up on Google Maps and get directions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in that. And the next step in that is actually that brought Ray on here was we had a great conversation on the phone, and we're actually going to make it part of a little mini doc. And Ray's going to be the expert that I talk to. No pressure, by the way, Ray. But he's going to be the expert that I talk to. We're going to have a sit down on video and pretty much expunge kind of what we're talking about here tonight. So, God, it's kind of stupid to introduce him now. I've said his name like 8 times.
Yeah, well, we'll introduce him, no doubt.
Go ahead, Ben, do it anyway.
It's Raymond Wiley. I want to thank you so much for joining us. I see he's got Disinformation Podcast shirt, so he definitely has me marking out right off the top, man.
I'm flying the old colors tonight.
Nice.
Guys, because I don't know if you guys have been reading disinfo.com lately, but it's you talk about kicking sacred cows.
Yeah.
The guys over there are doing a stellar job right now. I thought I'd roll out a little souvenir from my old days with Disinfo. Which they published the book as well, so I guess that makes sense.
Well, that's awesome, man. Because
let me ask you.
Go ahead.
So, can I be like an honorary horseman for tonight?
Oh yeah, I mean, all of our guests that ride out. Sometimes we need a sharpshooter, and whatever.
I'm gonna be flying Brian Pillman.
Awesome, man. Hopefully it doesn't end up the same way, but
yeah, I didn't think of that when I was just thinking like, who was my favorite off horseman that was kind of in and out.
Yeah, man, for sure. That was a great one. But I
I
was really into disinfo, man. That was a big part of my awakening. Early 2000s. I had, and I still teach out of some of the books from Everything You Know Is Wrong and You Are Being Lied to.
Great anthologies. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And that's Richard Metzger's. Richard Metzger was sort of the brainchild of all that.
Mm-hmm.
And, after I got out of college, I got to work for the company for a little while. It was kind of after his tenure, but we had a lot of fun stuff and got to meet people like Graham Hancock, Jim Mars, some big names in the field, and got to talk to them and do a podcast, kind of like what you guys are doing now, just no video, because it was like 2009, and it would have been like 240i video or something. I don't.
Well, Skype can still make that happen on any time it wants to. So don't.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ground we can cover. We'll try not to spoil the book.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a lot that we can talk about. So Stevie, you with your drone, dude, the TV productions you could have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars for 10 years ago, because they'd bring out the big crane out. That was the only way you could get a shot above the Guidestones before, about 10 years ago, 10 years ago, when drones started becoming popular. So I can't wait to see that footage. Did you guys find a sacrificial slab on top of it or whatever?
No, I saw some blood stains on the top running down where the cube is, so we'll talk about that. But that could have been, that could have been whatever. But I was going to say that I can still try to charge them hundreds a day to use my drone if they'd like. Do it that way.
Hey, real estate agents, they'll take like any rate for that. So, I mean, I'm sure you can get the TV folks to do the same. It's like $1 billion an hour at this point.
My drone's getting the biggest push of all.
I was about to say, you'll be retiring from wrestling in no time with just like a $100 drone, 4K camera.
Yeah, it's time that.
Thank God, it's about time.
Somebody took Vanguard 1 spot. You just got to name it and personify it, and it'll be on the way with it. Throw a blue shield over the lens or what have you, gel. So for all of our listeners who might not be familiar, I mean, you guys are pretty in tune with a lot of what we talk about. We try not to stooge off our topics too far in advance. So some people might have heard us talking on Twitter or seen some stuff that Stevie had posted. It was awesome that he went up there, and definitely want to hear about his experience. But if you don't know, in Georgia, what's the name of the county? Alberton. Yeah, and that's kind of important. Yeah, Alberton Granite Finish Company is that they built this, and it's kind of built by an anonymous source called RC Christian, and that's been up for debate on who that is, and supposedly it's been stooged off. A lot of people thought it was the Rosicrucians at first, but now it seems to be more Freemason based, and may lead to Ted Turner and a couple other names, which I don't want to stooge off information from our pro here, just from the research that I've done. I mean, I'm no Papadon when it comes to, and who knows where Papadon is? Maybe they're taking us out one by one. He's not here tonight. So
I think you've just done a great sort of roundup on a lot of the different theories that are out there about the Guidestones. And we can go into a couple of those a little deeper if you like. If you'd want to hear the story about sort of the early days and how they were put in the ground, we can talk about that as well.
Absolutely. We set it off, man. Yeah, we're here to learn.
So June 1979, right? The story goes that a man going by the name of Robert Christian walked into the Elbert Granite Finishing Company and started talking to the president of the company, a guy named Joe Findlay. Okay, this guy is basically makes tombstones for a living and monuments and things like that. Mm-hmm. Has a quarry out of town because there's a lot of granite in the area. and maybe he's got one of the biggest companies in the area for it right there, right at that time in '79. So this Robert Christian, he describes this monument he wants the company to build for him, and he starts describing, just grand scale, multiple languages, astronomical alignments, this sort of stuff. And the guy at the Granite Finishing Company thought he was joking. So you mentioned Freemasons earlier. One of the things that immediately came to the guy's head was that it was one of his fellow Shriners trying to pull a trick on him. Okay, so what he did was he quoted the guy an insanely high price to have the monument done. He said, okay, if you can go and get funding at the bank in Elberton for however, whatever six-figure number it was, okay, we'll talk about building this thing. So to the guy's surprise at the Granite Finishing Company, Robert Christian secures his bank loan, comes back with a full-scale model, a big plan and mock-up for what he wants for this thing, and basically leaves it to the people there in Elberton to build it. He's basically like, here's the plans, here's the money, I want to remain anonymous, build this gigantic granite monument for me. So it's like if you took El Elegante and you stacked him on top of himself twice, that still wouldn't be tall enough for the
2.5 sails.
Okay, that's exactly.
Yeah, I took a picture. I took a picture in the middle of them, like right in the center, and I just look like a black speck with my tank top. They're huge, man.
That's your match with Kane. It's just like your match with Kane, dude.
Thank you very much.
I
was more of a stain on the mat than those flops. So after that, no, I would say it's 20 feet, or 20 feet high, Ray. But you think 20 feet, it doesn't seem very high, but these seem, I guess because it's in an open field, it seems immensely taller than it is.
Absolutely. They sit kind of up on a hill, but it's for what would be normally a local tourist attraction. You're right. It's very unassuming. Like there's just a couple of parking places and gravel and maybe about an acre of grass, and the Guidestones sit in the middle, and anyone can come visit them anytime they like.
And it's not like Stonehenge where they got the ropes around it. You can't get to it. You can't, you can just walk right up to them.
Right. Huh. And for people interested in sort of preserving the monument, maybe they might go the British way, because, as you guys have seen from the photos over the years with the cube that Stevie was talking about being taken out of the English face, the epoxy stains from 2009, 2008, and just, a number of other things, the flagstones cracked from treasure hunters trying to dig under it. So, it's sort of very vulnerable. So it's the kind of thing you better visit it while you can, because you read the YouTube comments, and the online comments about this thing, and a lot of folks seem to want to get rid of them. What do you guys think about that?
Why?
That's my question. I researched the thing. We wrote a book on it, and I kind of came to like a lot of what it was saying. But I know that that's kind of controversial.
Yeah, I here's why I think it's like a proverbial fuck you middle finger to people who are anti-NWO, who this agenda that's greater than the individual, who's the free thought, love your brother type thing, to see a eugenics message, to see a depopulation message. Sure, there might be a nature nurture message in there, but you can't, and also there's some strangeness of, is this a forced version of the 10 Commandments? Something etched in stone that is a way of life for the future. I think there's some psychological under there.
We can unpack those things one at a time.
Sure.
If you want.
So I think I just think that's what the kickback is on it.
I'm maybe not in the same camp in that after researching it so much, I don't know exactly what the motive of the builder was. I can't say that for sure. There's enough data to where I've got some uncertainty about that.
The thing with me, Ray, was that I said it in the video. Hopefully, in the documentary, I'll add ominous music to it to make it sound suspenseful.
Of course, right?
But yeah, of course, and all these, and I'll color grade it to make it look like Ghost Adventures and all that bullshit. But I was saying it, and my natural reaction was exactly like yours. I went from the bottom to the top, and I said, "Okay, that sounds pretty cool." He goes, "That's not bad. That sounds, nature balance, this and that." And then there were two things that were diametrically opposed or contradictory of each other, and that was the one about the quartz, and then there was the other one, I think, above or below it, where it completely contradicted it. I'm not even talking about the one at the very top. That's the one we'll get to.
Could you repeat that, Steve? You cut out just for a minute. The two that were diametrically opposed. Say that again, please.
There was one about keeping it simple, kind of with quartz and stuff. I can't quite recall it. And
avoid petty laws and useless officials. Here's what the one you're talking about. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in world court. Controversial, right? I mean, not something everybody agrees with. So, and that's, and the Guidestones are interesting in that way because we've got 10 guidelines, and they're a window into someone's mode of thinking about the world and the way they look at the world. Just the question becomes, and this is the big mystery, right? Who was that person? What did they want? And we can talk a little bit about that as well. I don't, like I said, I'm up in the, I'm listening to any theory any of you guys got about it, because it's a fascinating mystery to me. But I can't immediately jump to the most sinister conclusions, because that would cause me to sort of not be able to discount everything else. So, but you are free to have your opinion on it. And if you guys want to talk about the NWO and stuff, concepts like that, I'm fine with that too. Exactly.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's been a couple things that where they think it was revealed here and there, but the county it sits in, the fact that it's on the eastern, most part of that state, and it relates to Freemasonry. Even the sister city was in Japan, so it's like land of the rising sun stuff, and Freemason with the eastern, worship of the sun rising that way. And that if you're talking about Georgia and big money, it somehow gets back to billionaire Ted. So they says the big secret, R.C. Christian, was actually two men. Robert Carter Cook was the mastermind, and then Robert Edward Ted Turner was the talking face, and then two others that Joe Fenley and Wyatt Martin, I believe, are the ones that built, right? So is it Turner money? Is it Freemason money, NWO Illuminati money? Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's somebody who's playing at a pretty high scale, especially if this guy thought he was getting ribbed by Shriners and quoted him an insane price, and they came back and said so right, be it, right? Like that's Stevie raising his price on the indies after we get all booked, right?
Ben, have you ever done that in your job, going and you're like, fuck this place. Yeah, we're looking for, 6 figures. And they're like, oh yeah, here you go. Because then you're fucked. There's something going on.
Yeah.
Well, when you come back with a ridiculously high price, and they're all about.
Well, I'll tell you all a story, since Ray is a wrestling fan. I don't think I've ever told this story. When I was renegotiating my contract with Johnny Ace and WWE, I did the same thing. I was like, these guys, man, they don't care about me. And I go, I got nothing to lose by. I'm just going to ask for this. And he goes, so what do you want, Stevie? Like, what would it take to keep here? Like, just play it. You know what I mean? Just trying to be courteous. Like, what's it going to take to keep me here? Oh, putting everybody else over? I don't know. It's such a great spot. So yeah, I go 700,000 plus hotel and rental car. And by the way, I make it tax free. He's like, I can't all that. He goes, why would you even ask for that? I go, got a 50-50 shot, right? Just say yes or no, right?
Yeah. And then
even if you gave me half of that, I'm in pretty good shape. So yeah. I actually used the Georgia Guidestones builder theory to do that, but it didn't quite work out for me.
It worked out for Dolph Ziggler though. Ziggler made it happen. I mean, he puts people over.
Maybe I plant the seed and he got an extra $50,000.
That's it, man.
So you mentioned Ted Turner right now. Sure. He jumps to my mind, or he would jump to anybody's mind thinking about Georgia in the late 70s, who was the kind of flamboyant personality that might espouse this sort of, I want to use the word globalist beliefs, but that has become a very sort of naughty word in the past, say, 10 years in the conspiracy theory world. It has a connotation that it might not have had, when Turner was sticking up Captain Planet or whatever.
Right.
So I don't want to like jump to
Good reference. Wow, that's a good reference.
Well, you know what I mean. Like there was this sort of like Earth Day hippie kind of vibe going on in the 70s and 80s that kind of played into some of these ideas about like globalism, stronger United Nations, that sort of thing. And you get the idea that whoever wrote this stuff up. And to me, if I had to guess and just make a conjecture about it, I think it was one person. I think it was one guy. Because it's so specific. Like, it's so specific. And there's no, like, intellectual forebearer of it. Like, I can't go back and, like, point to you what all the sources, like, where this guy got all these 10 ideas. Like, it seems like...
You can't think... I feel like there's that Stonecutters meeting, where they're all putting...
Controls the British crown.
Yeah.
Right, I know.
And they all come out with it.
And there is a vibe of that to it, but you get the idea that, at least for me, after researching all this and seeing that it really wasn't that much money that went into it, that there are clear errors in the construction of it, and even in the spelling and some of the translations on it. Okay, this kind of stuff. You look at that and you think, okay, there were limited resources involved in this. Now, I'm not saying that it couldn't have been some like Freemasons Lodge or Rosicrucians Lodge or something like that. I mean, some of those beliefs are in line. But when we talk about Freemasons, you think every time that they set up a monument or build a building, they have these certain rites that they do with corn and oil. You've heard about this, right? Mm-hmm. You guys know what I'm talking about. There was nothing like that when they installed the Guidestones. Not that I know of, or that have ever seen in any of the pictures or anything like that. I think a lot of the local organizations, whether it be the Grand Lodge of Georgia or the local Methodists or the Lions Club or whoever it was around there, I think a lot of them kind of took a step back. And a lot of that was more religious superstition than the sort of kind of political superstition that we have in the conspiracy theory world. It's sort of a different angle. So there's been a lot of accusations of it like being satanic, like a place of devil worship, this kind of stuff. And I find that stuff fascinating too, because it does attract people in occult, New Age, different kind of movements like that. Wiccans, these people are all over. I mean, they're part of our country. You know what I mean? Like, they're just normal people, most of them.
Get them, Sal. Get them, Sal.
Right.
Well,
you get me.
No, I was just I had a couple of thoughts. Number one, like everybody's putting and you saying you think it's one person.
I think it's one person.
My thought, my one thought is, what if this one guy? Because honestly, how much could he possibly sunk into it? You know what I mean?
200 to 250 grand, somewhere in
Right.
200 grand maybe.
So some guy, these guys have that kind of cash. So they go, what if a guy just kind of took it and was like, you know what, fuck this. And they did have the Stonecutters meeting, and they were like, you won't do it. And he goes, oh, I won't fucking do it. And he went and he did it. And now everybody's like, what is this? What does this mean? There was nothing that puts it over as this was something of ceremony. This was something of importance. This is like, this guy came out. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll spend my money and I'll do it.
Right.
And he went out and did it. And his friends were like, all right, fuck it. You did it. Here's that 500 grand I said I'd give you if you did it. That sort of thing.
And that could be, you're talking Georgia, that could be old money too. I mean, that money might have been around.
Yeah, but what they put into it isn't a bunch of just good old boys at local Bilderberg chapter going.
I don't know. If there's misspellings as a New Yorker in me, that makes me go, wow, there's some dumb old rednecks, even if they got money, who didn't get the shit spelled right in Hebrew.
I'm sure it wasn't misspelled in the plans or whatever. Yeah. But it definitely represents a set of ideals that are not, shall we say, normal to East Georgia, not normal to Elbert County. You're much more likely to see, like the Confederate soldier in the town square or something like that there. In fact, and we write about this a little bit in the book. Back when Elberton was first becoming a granite town, they had a Confederate soldier statue for the town square built. This was like the wives of the men who had fought in the Civil War. Okay, and they got this Italian guy to carve it. And he was like just off the boat from Italy. Okay, and so he carved up what he thought was the perfect Confederate soldier, and they all thought it looked like a Union soldier. And so they dragged it down. And there's some parallels there with the Guidestones, where I don't, you had a sort of single artist and his idea of what he's trying to make, and then you have everyone else's interpretation of what it is.
Right.
And I think that may have been what whoever it was wanted. Because it's gotten us talking, right? All these tenants, they've gotten us talking and have sort of opened up a conversation. I would imagine that he wanted the conversation to be something about environmentalism, denuclearization, and I'd be happy to unpack that.
Please.
Could I just say one thing about the point? Because I'm a little stuck with the mixture of the Boss Hogg and the Dukes of Hazzard with with Egyptian astronomy mixed in and astrology.
Right.
No, I'm just saying, like we talk about a lot of conspiracies, and like everybody's got their one thing where they're just kind of like, I want it to be true, or I refuse because I come from this way, and then that's what makes the show cool. But we usually are pretty open to the fact that there's somebody in power doing something for a specific reason. Being wrestlers, they don't fuck with you just for no reason, whether it's their entertainment or to do whatever. We're naturally paranoid to that. So this whole thing, like, they just built these stones and like if each one was a pair of tits or whatever, then I'm like, oh, fucking dumb rednecks or whatever. There were beer cans instead of big symmetrical blocks.
Or if it was the biggest ball of yarn in the southeast or something like that.
like the donut guy or something.
I think they would have known what to do with it had it been something more like that. And I think that what they got was something that where some of the people in the town were like, we got to boost this. We got to have the spirit of boosterism and bring people into the town, and this will be something that attracts people. But it was so, and this is a great word for it, right? Esoteric to them, to the people there, that no one's ever quite known how to take it. People still don't know. People are still, we're doing it right now. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just really quickly, if you can, if we can stay, we don't have to be too far on that astronomy thing, but just explain to everybody out there, like what those, we saw the mail slot part, and also there's a hole, and they are very strategically placed in certain astronomical directions, correct?
Yeah, I was going to say the geometry of it, the overhead view of it is there. If we're talking Freemasons, there's got to be 33rd degree angles in it, 90 degrees, some obtuse 120s. Like, does that stuff start to match up once you deconstruct it at that level?
I would say it matches up with that thought stream from the past that might in one way be represented by Freemasonry or something like Rosicrucianism. I think it matches up to that in that it calls back to the stars, right? You can use it to cite the rising sun on the morning of the equinox, I believe, or the solstice.
Okay.
I've tried this a couple of times and never could quite get the Henry Lincoln effect that I was hoping for, when I would try to film it. And then you've got another shaft cut through it where you should be able to sight Polaris, the North Star, any time of the year. And let me come back around to what I was saying about denuclearization and maybe what this guy's motives could have been. Because we're looking at something that was built in 1979 in the context of the Cold War. And to me, that was the most interesting avenue to go down with this, where it was clear from what this guy wrote, because he wrote a book later, by the way, called Common Sense Renewed. It was clear from what this guy wrote. This guy was afraid of, like, the Soviets and the Americans destroying themselves in a nuclear war. Just that's if you asked him, if you look at what he wrote and say, well, what reasons did he give? Like, whether that's a lie or not, is up to you. But what reasons did he give? He said, humanity's it's very much within our capability to destroy ourselves completely. And so to me, when I look at the Guidestones, that seems to be, from the way it's designed and what you see on it, probably the thing that whoever built it was thinking about the most. That it didn't matter that we would be here in 2018 in peace and happiness reading it.
Sorry to jump in on you, but that also sounds like a very similar message that has supposedly been conveyed by aliens who dealt with Paul Hellyer and Defense Ministry, and what we've talked about, from MUFON as well.
I'm familiar with many of the recordings from Disclosure Project and other places where former military employees say that UFOs have come down and just shut down the whole missile field, or like turned off the Ohio class ballistic missile submarine or whatever it might be. There's a lot of those stories out there. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. But you're right. It does match up to this idea that if there is something higher that we're looking for, and we try to imagine what that would be in our minds, that might be something like maybe not having nuclear weapons anymore. So, and that brings us around to the most controversial thing about this, right? The big $1 million elephant in the room. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. The very first thing on there, right? The reason why Alex Jones sends all the rednecks out to beat it up. The reason why so many people hate it in the modern political context, not in the old religious context, because it's easy to call anything the devil, but in our modern context, post 9/11, shall we say?
Right.
That's the big sticking point. And that's where people say, there are these globalists out there, and because this thing says 500 million, it must be related to them. And that was, I never could match those two things up.
I feel
in more than a circumstantial way.
If Ted Turner was directly involved, it would have been 500. Is the 500,000 or 500 million?
500 million.
500 million and five. He would have started at like 6:05.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You know what I mean?
All of his programming, 6:15, 6:05.
So that's why the time capsule doesn't have a date on it, because it has to be on the 05 hour.
The 05.
You guys want to know why?
That whole thing though, Ray, with the fight. See, they like kind of, in a way, what we said in wrestling, they kind of blew their whole, like you don't have to read after the first one. It's like.
Yeah.
No matter what's after it, you can say, give everybody a pony, a puppy, a unicorn, and be like, no, I can't get past the fact you want to kill like 7.1 billion people. That's kind of not.
Now,
even in 1979, we were in the billions. That was more than half the population. Pretty nuts.
Well, that I think is the most unexpected thing. I think if you went back to, if you knew who R.C. Christian was and you went to him and you said, look, dude, you're building this thing. In 30 years, people are going to look at that and be like, thinking you wanted to kill, like the bad guy from Moonraker, like you want to kill off the whole population of the Earth, dude. I think that would have been utterly baffling to him. I think to an audience and not to observe a smart observer in 1979, 1980, they would have looked at that and they would have got up from their TV on Wednesday night after watching Jason Robards in The Day After. Or Failsafe, or Dr. Strangelove, and they would say, this monument is for whoever of us is left after all the missiles fly. And that is so much more likely of a context than globalist, to me, than globalist rulers, secret rulers of the world wanting to poison us or do this or do that. We've been here since 1945. You don't have to. I don't feel like anybody, especially in my parents' generation, needs to be warned that there is a danger that we could all be killed.
So more of a post-apocalyptic. That can be done by
people, not by a natural disaster, but by decisions people make. And that's where we've lived there since 45.
Yeah. So more of a post-apocalyptic message instead of a forewarning of what needs to happen for sustainability.
Right, because think about the wording. Maintain humanity under 500 million. Mm-hmm. So the idea is from what I take from that is that the person looking at this is it's Tom Hardy. He's standing there at the end of Mad Max Fury Road and he's like, oh, yeah, once we rebuild civilization, we better not like let ourselves get too overpopulated like we did the last time. You guys remember the first scene of that movie, Firefly?
Yeah.
Or was it Serenity? Was the name
Serenity
of the movie?
is the movie. Firefly's the show.
That's the whole premise that starts from. Is that the first thing she says is we had become so many, blah blah blah. And then you see the bombs going off, and they're going off into space or whatever, right? Another thing people worry about with the NWO, right? They're going to launch themselves into space and live forever and leave us down here. I'm not saying these things aren't fascinating. I just have a hard time taking them as seriously as a lot of other people do because I've been in the conspiracy theory world for so long. So
yeah, you want to hear a crazy conspiracy theory? You mentioned Tom Hardy, so we're going to go to the Dark Knight Rises movie.
Yes.
My wife, and I guess she went from somebody when I brought up the Mandela effect, which is the most benign kind of conspiracy where she, oh, look at him, he's a trucker. Look at that, Sal.
My Ractigino here.
There you
for
go,
all you
man.
Deep Space
Nice.
Nine fans.
So he's Star Wars. If Papa was here, it would be a big fight. So we were riding from Georgia Guidestones, and this is a girl that we were doing the show. I think it was just me and Ben at first, and she's like, "Don't bring these crazy conspiracy theories or any of this sort of stuff." And then she started to look into it and do stuff like that. Now we leave the Georgia Guidestones. Been married for 2 years. Leave the Georgia Guidestones, which, by the way, was her idea to go there and film. We leave, and I was like, that's really weird that the time capsule doesn't have a date on it. It's so odd. I've never seen that, and I go, and it was raised up quite a bit. It looked like quite a bit of stuff could be in there if it allegedly is already in there. And she goes,
do you want to know?
What?
Do you want to know?
What's that?
I can solve the mystery for you right now.
No, it's more fun to say what the craziest thing she's ever said first. She goes, what if there's actually a nuclear bomb in there that's scheduled to go off, and then after that's why there's no date on it. I go, oh my God, I fucking love you. This is awesome. You're insane.
Right. But how can the Beneath the Planet of the Apes survivors find the Guidestones if it blows up in the first big nuclear blast, though? So it's got. I think that's part of it too.
Well, these are people in Georgia that created this thing, so they might not have thought that.
Yeah, that's the other part of it too. Is you said that Dukes of Hazzard, boy, isn't that a great cover story to think that they're just some banjo pickers? Because I mean, I got family in Atlanta who went to Georgia Tech, and you know what I mean, and they're geniuses when it comes to mathematics and shit, but. Boy, as soon as you hear that Roscoe P. Coltrane accent, it doesn't matter. You're already going to have a preconceived notion now that there isn't plenty of geniuses there, and that's the best way to hide your secret society is to make everybody think you're a dumb redneck at the end of the day when you're really
I mean, and that I guess too was me kind of being flippant. Like it's not fair to call any of the people involved in this like rednecks. Like
sure it is.
Well, hold on. The professional sandblaster who blasted all those letters and decided that thing. And I've met his son, I think.
Didn't say he's not
I don't
talented.
think he had spelled the word pseudonym on the side of a tombstone too many times, is all I'm saying. So there are perfectly valid reasons why some of this stuff might have got messed up a little bit, and perfectly valid reasons, i.e. whoever it was probably ran out of money, that it didn't get fixed properly. Now, I hate to tell you, there's no nuclear bomb under there unless the school children at Elberton Elementary School buried it there.
I never trusted those kids. Never.
Son of a bitch.
I never trusted those little
bastards. The
bastards.
Blue Devils, guys. The Blue Devils.
That's
Think about it. Okay, so, but no, seriously, the idea was that the school children in Elberton were going to put a time capsule under there, and they just never did. Because once again, going back around to that whole thing, nobody knew how to take this thing.
So now they're just lazy fucks. That's all they really are when it comes down to it. Kids never got around to it.
Georgia, like you said. So, I mean, I've lived here my whole life. I can speak to it.
I want to go to that elementary school and smack all of them for not following through.
I'm on it.
Let's do this.
Sal has he's a real way with kids.
Let's do this. Let's do the tour, the Georgia tour.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, Ray can speak on it too. It's a trip out there, man. It's not like 6 hours, but you're going down local roads. It's like it's really legitimately in the middle of nowhere. You make a left turn and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to come up on this big gator. And you look and you're like, my wife was driving, made a left turn, and she goes, where is it? I go, it's just right there. And it's like so unassuming in the middle of a field.
Yep.
Does the latitude and longitude play into any numerology or anything along those lines of where it is?
We looked into that, and Elberton does not, like, we had thought, oh, maybe it's going to sit right at the 33rd parallel, and not quite.
No.
And we looked at, like, oh, did they put it up on the vernal equinox? Oh, they were 2 days before it. It was always just it's like that with everything with the Guidestones. Like, Polaris is a tiny bit off.
But I will say, if they were 2 days before in the vernal equinox, Crow 777 does put out a pretty good argument of that they're misleading people of when the equinox is, so they're not taping like how he captured with his lunar wave. That the equinox is usually off either 2 days before or 2 days beforehand. So maybe it is some sacred knowledge.
80, yeah.
All right, so let me ask Ray and Stevie, if you guys were at the spot, did you guys ghost adventure or anything? Did you feel something? Did something touch your balls, or did something make your hair stand up? Anything like that? Like, was there
I've been back for 2 years. Nothing happens like that anymore.
But did you feel anything? Was there a magnetic field? Was there some sort of energy that you guys felt?
Right?
Either of you?
Well,
I will say this. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ray.
I would say you definitely feel how different it is from anything else around it.
There's nothing else.
100 miles. 1,000. There's nothing. It's not just that it's so unique, but that it's so unlikely to be in such a rural southern kind of environment. I think that's what kind of strikes me about it. What do you think, Stevie?
Well, the only thing that happened, I talked to Ray and I told you guys about it, that was really strange was I've flown my drone, a bunch of different drones, the real star of the show, by the way. I've flown my drone like a bunch of different places, especially here in Smyrna and Atlanta area and other cities where there were power lines, much more, how should I say? There was more power lines that were around me that would have created some sort of magnetic interference or created some sort of warning or threw the drone off as far as the GPS or the accelerometer, gyroscope. But I was out there in the middle of nowhere, and there's like one power line, and Ray knows what I'm talking about, right there at the road where the parking lot starts.
Highway 77 there.
Yeah. So when we took the drone out, the B-roll, all the footage and stuff, I couldn't get a lock on GPS, first of all, which doesn't really ever happen. It usually happens when I'm near an air base or something. It tells me you can't fly, and it won't give me the GPS lock to take off and be, in a safe mode or whatever. So I turned it on, and it kept just not really getting GPS. So I restarted my phone, did it. Then I got a magnetic interference warning, and I said, that's weird. And I said, well, there's a power line here. So I'm going to walk to the other side of the Guidestones where there's there's absolutely nothing. No power lines, no nothing. And I did it again, and I still got the magnetic interference warning on the other side, in the field side of the Guidestones, which I found to be like, that's weird.
That is weird because I don't think the rebar in there would do that. Because there is rebar in it.
I'm talking about the field. No, I want about 20 or 30 feet past the Guidestones into the field.
I think even if you were right up on it, the rebar shouldn't cause any problem. So that is weird. That is really weird.
And Sal, even though I was left out of that one, nothing. I've never been there, so nothing happened to me. But I was.
That's okay.
I was almost molested by a park ranger when I went to Stone Mountain as a kid with my family there. So.
That's fine. That's how they say hello.
No,
I think he's making $100,000 a year right now.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
That's the visitor center. Hi,
I mean,
let's watch the little bearded kid. Send him on in. Come here.
Bearded
Creepy.
kid. No,
He didn't take you on the skylift, did he?
Yeah, he tried
They
to, and
don't
then
have a skylift
they
there.
did, and then I booted his ass off and watched him plummet to his death. So it was a good time. No, man, that I was wondering too. You know, obviously the Stargate part of that. You know, is there some energy field? And that would be 33rd parallel type stuff too. Let's get into kind of the writing of why it's in so many different languages, and even more of dead languages that really wouldn't fit into American and ergo Georgia culture. I think that's probably pretty interesting as well.
Well, you know, the official explanation is, right, if you just read the literature on the thing and the book the guy wrote, he talks about how he wanted it to serve as a Rosetta Stone. Once again, coming back around to that idea that something has happened to humanity. Nuclear war, famine, disease, whatever. I mean, the four horsemen, right? I mean, and so you come back after that. How are you you got maybe some books left over in different language. How are you going to be able to translate them if you don't have, the books that teach you how to speak the language? And I think that was sort of the idea. I kind of look at it as this sort of like post-apocalyptic Swiss Army knife, if that makes any sense. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that you could maybe get out of this if you were, like I said, if you're Tom Hardy or, whatever post-apocalyptic kind of life you might be leading. If you're Fallout 3 in it across the landscape, maybe you come across the Guidestones. And why you would have a book in Japanese on you that you would want to translate, I don't know. But you kind of get the idea.
At least there was a Nakamura promo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I mean, I'm sure there's not a lot of visitors who speak like Russian.
Only
coming to see the
500
Guidestones.
million
I'm so glad
leaves.
They took the time to write it in in Russian for me so I could come see it.
Yeah, let's go to the Exxon station and eat our lunch now, because that's all that's around. Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
I was going to say that the fact that I saw different languages on there, but then, and once again, I can't directly quote it, there's that one commandment on the Guidestones about there being one language. And I found that to be contradicting as well. Even though it had multiple languages, like what would be the one language?
Esperanto. Come on.
Carney probably.
Yeah, Kizarni.
And only William
guy in the
Shatner could have
70s.
understood it.
Yeah. It'd have to be. That's got to be what he's talking about. Like, that was so. If you think about right at that time, right, that class of people who would have made something like this, Esperanto, man, that's got to be what he's talking about. Once again, these are all just conjectures, guys. Like, I don't know what was in this person or these people's hearts. But here's the thing: is I think, and I can kind of see the look on your face over there. I can see it shining through your beard over there, Abby. You're thinking I'm letting these folks off the hook. You're thinking I'm just whistling in the wind and not noticing the wolf in sheep's clothing.
I'm looking up who your grandfather was at this time. Let's see how you're connected. Let's see this kid.
He was a Freemason.
All right.
At least one of them I know. We bet you watch out for me. But I'm not. But let's unpack this some more. Let's have a little bit more back and forth about this. Maintain humanity under 500 million. I'm going to put the burden of proof on the conspiracy horsemen right now. Why do we interpret that to mean that you should go and kill everybody down to 500 million people? This is what I feel like is always the leap that I can't ever understand when people are dissing the Guidestones.
Wouldn't you?
That kind of goes to some Fourth Reich stuff, master race, and who's gonna go down that road and do what whatever their psychopathic ends to the means is, and so the future can be preserved, and even in the eugenics part of this stuff as well. That definitely plays into some Hitler mentality, which we've talked about Operation Paperclip plenty of times of when they brought them over in the 50s. That's only 2 generations later, man, and that could easily have been handed down. And man,
it was the same people, man. Werner von Braun and all those, they were the same people. They built the V2 rocket. They were using slave labor. Like they were killing people by the thousands.
Georgia would never use slaves, so they're not.
Georgia would never use slave labor or practice ethnic cleansing ever. Come on.
Well,
I live here in Cherokee County.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
how many Cherokees are left there?
Right.
There's a Shawnee. Scott Steiner owns it. So sorry, Cherokees.
Scott Steiner owns it.
Sal, that Mason Dixon.
Rick Steiner, now the dog-faced gremlin, he is on the school board up here. Swear to God.
Yes. I work with him in real estate.
So it's his fault that he didn't get those kids to do the fucking time capsule.
Not Elbert County. No, we're in Cherokee County. If we sent the dog-faced gremlin over to Elbert County, he'd set him straight over there. I bet you. He'd wolf at him. Maybe do an off-the-top Frankenstein.
Stretch one of those
he
kids.
Still pull it off.
Fuckers.
I'm glad you guys brought the Steiners. And anytime anybody brings up WCW from back in those days, because I was just religious about it as a kid. So, I mean, and I know you guys heard about Big Van Vader today.
Yeah, man. Yep.
And that was just so sad. You know, I went back and I watched Ron Simmons versus Big Van Vader. Watched that match today. And it was amazing. Just speed to size ratio on that guy. That guy could really move. And there's this one point in the match where he does, I mean, just a perfect suplex on Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons ain't a small guy. And like Vader's, both of his feet are up off the air before Simmons hits the ground. And I'm thinking, this guy weighs 450 pounds. He's doing this. Like, it was, I mean, you could tell how impressive it was even back then. So, anyway, I'm sorry to get us off topic. But...
Well, that never happened, so watch yourself.
Stevie, did you ever get the chance to wrestle Vader?
No, I'm still here. So
I was going to say, Stevie's head still turns on a normal swivel, so no.
Yeah. One of our buddies.
I would have probably entered the UFC after I wrestled him. I was like, I'm ready to go. No, I ran into a couple times later on in his career when he was working the Indies, but nothing in any major companies. I started in '91. He was already in WCW by then, world champion around that time. So, yeah, it might be he had different. I think can do a little stuff with his heart and everything. But once again, it's a message to everybody out there to just try to take the best care of yourselves while you're here, be as healthy as you can, and make the most out of what you have too. So it's easy to kind of fall into, I'm sure being 400 pounds didn't help his heart problem. I'm not saying that it wasn't inevitable, because it totally was, according to doctors, but carrying that much weight for that time at 63 is even a long time to do it, So he's got a son, he's got a family. So that's all that matters right now, is just how they're doing and how they're feeling and how they're going to move on.
Yeah, not to jump on the dark side of this either, but like, a friend of our other shows, Andre Corbeil, who, has worked with Big Ray and the PW Hustle guys a lot, good reporter out of Canada. He just cut a huge promo like on WWE, fuck Triple H, fuck everybody else, because they didn't induct him this year when they knew he didn't have much time left
he
for
hasn't
Hall of
been
Fame.
Inducted yet?
Hasn't been inducted
yet. He's not in the
yet.
Hall of Fame?
So for
Oh,
whatever
God, dude.
conspiracy
he was like
reason.
he was like the biggest draw for WCW in about 91, 92.
Yeah, so
they had him wrestling almost every week.
There's got to be some heat there, but Andre Corbeil pull no punches today. You guys can check that promo out on YouTube. I just got a text from our other brother from the Infinite Fringe, Billy Ray Valentine, who's had some awesome shows this week. I haven't heard it yet, but the Kanye West MK Ultra show is getting rave reviews. So Billy Ray, I got to check that out. But he said, tell him about John Holdren and his book on eugenics, Obama's Science Czar. So a lot of the same, whether it's 1979 or 2009, a lot of it getting held, over of what they really want to do. And to me, that's like, all right, Freemason, that could be one thing. Rosicrucians, another, whatever other civil fraternity you want to put it on. But at the top, at the NWO with the real decision makers, and you're talking about a 30, 40-year plan, and it's there, and they're still doing it, that puts it on a higher level to me. So I just, it's hard for me to wipe it off with just, this one rich guy and a couple of his buddies wanted to do it,
Sure.
So,
No, and I'm not trying to minimize your opinion on
no,
this.
absolutely. I just want to play other
You
side.
have a perfectly valid opinion about this. Probably the majority opinion of people that know about the Guidestones. Very close to what you're thinking. What about you guys? Do you think that is there a new world order? Is there a group of powerful men at the top planning in secret? We don't know their names. We don't know who they are.
Yeah, I think Antarctica's proven that to us.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think if you want to talk about people that are, they might not be the super secret shadow people in charge like we always think there are, but on the surface, it always comes down to money. It would have to be the bankers, and that's where Papadon would really be well placed to talk right now, because all the wars that are started in the past 100 years or so, they all have to do with the central bank. They all have to do with currency, with resources, with just doing, smash and grabs basically, but you're smashing and grabbing an entire continent or country. There you go. How about this?
Sorry.
Sorry, we were listening. We were listening.
No, I was proud of my big ass
So
bottle of
that's,
Evan Williams.
that's what I think. It's just in a world where now we have a space force. Let's talk about this. Now we're in a space force here.
Man,
I'm just thinking of
it.
but there is a higher frequency that we need to be on. We need to expand as humanity, but then people just get all caught up over metal that they determine the value of and paper that they determine the value of. It really is.
And cryptocurrencies that they determine the value of, and trade goods it's all based on our good faith and trust of one another. It's not, and I'm not trying to make a big political statement when I say this. I don't think it's all about my need to get mine and make that dollar or whatever. I think it's just as much about our need to help each other and to be part of that bigger process.
Meanwhile,
we need a one world government.
Meanwhile, Google Home is transmitting information directly past Google to the owners and the major stockholders of what the analytics are for control. So
how do you circumvent that?
Not have that shit in your house, even though we all got phones, so it's the same shit. So you're underneath it. Get guns and come buy 2 acres where my camp is and start building. That's about the only way you're gonna circumvent it.
He's got the compound in Idaho. Watch out.
Yeah. So
Sal's gonna love this. Sal's gonna love this. I get targeted. We talk about the targeted ads every time we talk about something, or I look something up, but not even look something up. If I talk about it, it comes up. So now my whole saying is, now target me, I'll target you, and I send them an email and get free shit. So that's so I get something. Sal doesn't seem too amused. Did I say CERN's behind everything a little bit too much in the chat room for you? Are you mad at me now?
I'm not mad at anybody. I'm enjoying the show. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I gave you one of my 3D kitten stickers years ago. Remember?
I still have it. It is still a bookmarker in my D&D books.
But it's not the cover like the Ben Hameen 8x10.
That is true.
No, but I kind of like this, outside of what we're talking about conspiracy wise, because last week Papadon went all in on research, kicked ass. Stevie this week with his trip there and hooking us up with you, Raymond, is awesome. The week before Papadon, Sal was on everything with his Beautiful Mind notebook, going every which way but loose. So I really feel like we're passing the conch shell around here to learn, and some guys are a little bit more into other topics of what they did. So Sal and I are happy to ride shotgun and awesome. and listen.
Well,
man.
I think he got the word right just a minute ago. Learning. Like, that's what's so fun about conspiracy theories as a genre, a subculture, whatever you want to call it, is that, especially like you guys are doing a show about conspiracy theories, where you got to get a new topic each week. You get churn through all this different stuff, all these different ideas people have. I've done that. This Info podcast, right, out there radio, back when I was in college at WOG, and that's the greatest thing about it, isn't it? Is that you learn about all this stuff, just boom, 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 boom. In a very short period of time, you're front loading all this information in your mind. And for me, what that did was later on, I would go back to some of those topics and then be ready to really dig. Now that I've done the 1 hour radio show for the audience. Now I can do it for me.
Right.
Go back and really, really dig down into that. For me, over the past couple of years, those topics have tended to be more about history, military history, World War II, that kind of stuff. Southern history of American slavery, lead up to the Civil War, all that kind of stuff. Been really interested in that stuff. And so many of these kind of topics, the door was open to me to find that as an interest, because, there's always a little bit of history in a good conspiracy theory. I mean, read Jim Marrs's books, for example. I mean, they're just littered with this stuff. Now, I don't necessarily agree with everything Jim Marrs says about history, but it's a great way in. I mean, if mysteries and things like that are something you're already into, I think it's perfect. So what's coming up for you guys, and what topics are you about to be excited about next? Because it's been years since I've really been into the genre.
I mean, for us, it's always like we're always hindered by the false flags that happen constantly, because that and celebrity deaths. I mean, we cover a little bit of Anthony Bourdain last week with Russo while we talked celebrity cloning. We did it on the Infinite Fringe, Billy Ray Valentine and I. And then that goes on farther this week of his family didn't want his body cremated. And what do? They cremate him in France. And like that just pushes the narrative of like what we've been told is total bullshit, what the Nancy Browns bite on because they liked his TV show. And the fact that this guy's 6 foot whatever and is hung from a fucking doorknob, after he goes after both sides for their bullshit. This is obviously another Illuminati, Arkansas mob hit in some way or another, and covered up to be dead men tell no tale, and their ashes definitely tell no tale when you can't do an autopsy on them, where we talked about Chester Bennington when him and Chris Cornell were going to expose Podesta in the Black Book. And he supposedly hung himself too, or OD'd, and he's got contusions to the back of the head and 3-4 broken ribs. Like, you're the worst at fucking CPR in the history of the game if if that's the way you're trying to bring somebody back. So we're a little bit hindered by that.
It was so sad that Chris Cornell passed. I had seen Sam Gardner.
I'd say murdered. I wouldn't say passed,
Well, I mean, whether he was murdered or not, he passed.
Yeah.
Came here.
Yeah.
I saw Sam Gardner about 2 weeks before he died in Atlanta. It was just a fantastic show. I'm glad I got to see him that one last time. I assume you guys were a little broken up about that too, and man, I was, because I saw the solo shows, Audio Slave, Soundgarden, everything that guy ever did.
I was very upset when Chet Beddington died. Is that what Papa Don called him?
Chet, yeah, he called him Chet.
Chet Beddington.
Chet, yeah, he's a big fan.
Yeah, they were friends, right?
Yeah, he was his son's godfather. That's how close they were.
Okay.
So,
I'll say this: if you had Russo and Papadon referencing people and also money amounts, and you don't bother even Googling anything after that because you'll get false. Russo, by the way, we went on a rabbit hole. It was like days long. He hasn't slept in like a week.
I can't believe it last night, man. You got to listen to last night's show. He goes, bro, I started checking out this one documentary, and then he goes through like 6 more, man. Like, I think he was just up every night this week watching hardcore shit.
He wasn't bullshitting us. He was naming them off like, oh, this was the one, and this was the one. Dude, I haven't even watched all those in like a month,
14 hours later, he's still awake.
But he kept saying that Australia gave WWE $1 trillion for their show. So I'm like ribbing him, going, I'm like,
they gave him their whole GDP.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, I said I don't think their GDP is $1 trillion, and he kept going. He wouldn't even listen to me. So then there was a little lull, and I said, oh, by the way, the official GDP of Australia is $1.205 billion. He no-sold it to kept going. It was like $1 trillion.
Like they made do with just that 0.25 trillion left over, and that was.
I said he left them. WWE left him $200 million to run the country. So
the rest went straight to McMahon.
That's it,
basically. So,
I wouldn't doubt it at this point. We never thought that there would be $1 billion TV deals. And there are.
Well, hey, that's what Warner Brothers did in New Zealand with the Hobbit movies. They were just like built the whole country,
Yeah, to
Oh,
finish
wow.
answering your question, the other thing, with Space Force, I think we kind of almost all, I don't want to speak for everyone, believe that from the Corey Good disclosure stuff that he did on Gaia, where he says he's an empath who's done the, what does it say? It took him 4 minutes to go from the Earth to the Moon, which is pretty much right out of the end of They Live, while they're teleporting people to whatever place they need to. I think the Space Force stuff goes back to Reagan, that this shit's been in place. We've been there. What we see from space
Right.
stations has been shown as blue screen, green screen bullshit. We see the same pictures of the Earth, photoshopped easily to be dismissed. Everything we're seeing isn't what we, have been conditioned to. And is this just finally a little bit of real disclosure of like, oh, we're going to do that. Ha ha ha. Everyone will be talking about it online. And then you wake up tomorrow and, oh, fuck, we've had Star Destroyers for 30 years now.
Right. They just come, like the Enterprise comes down.
No, Star
And you're like,
Destroyers. Star Destroyers.
This one's like 50 years old already. you know?
Exactly, dude.
Oh, can me and Sal have it? That's what I would say.
Yeah, I'll take
Just
that.
one.
Tell me about
Yeah,
it.
and the nail in the coffin is basically the basement in Rick and Morty in the White House.
Yeah.
And they showed all of that shit. So that, that's all the proof I needed.
That reminds me of like Dulcie Bass. Did you guys ever listen to the recordings about Dulcie Bass? And there was like,
I don't think so.
they had all the levels mapped out, and
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
aliens on this floor and the
Yep.
hybrids were on this. That shit is so fun. That is what I love
Yeah.
about this genre. Whatever you want, it's conspiracy theory. I know some people think that's a negative. I don't think that's a negative, calling it conspiracy theories. I love that kind of shit. I love it. Underground bases, nuclear-powered drilling machines. I heard on Coast to Coast AM once. This guy's like, yeah, man, I helped dig this thing out. There was like a baseball field under there to go with the base. It was so big. All this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I love that stuff.
We've got a message into David Icke right now trying to get him booked. There's things that we don't want to touch, but we are going to. We just need to do the research. Like, were nuclear bombs real? Holocaust numbers, and we like the imagination stuff too. But we'd be doing our dedicated listenership a disservice if we just picked and choose what we did and didn't want to do. Some things are just a bit hot button, and we need to approach them the right way with the right
Sure.
guest. So.
And you got to be able to follow your heart. You don't want to be stuck. Oh, I got to do chemtrails this week because everybody else is doing chemtrails. You don't need to. You can follow what because this is an intellectual journey, right? And in picking through all of this, admittedly fantastic stuff, you're gonna learn something about yourself and find out something new about yourself all the time. That's what happened to me.
Yeah,
and
Mandela Effect is probably still our favorite. That and
you
CERN.
like that one?
Yeah.
Let's talk about World War II stuff. You mentioned Holocaust numbers. I had a kind of a little moment, and I think we should talk about that right now. Because I've spent most of the past couple of years studying World War II real close.
Okay.
And one thing you should not doubt are records that were kept by the SS. Okay, those were the most meticulous sons of bitches that you can imagine. And you can look at lists by the numbers of all the people that died in Treblinka and Auschwitz and Sobibor, especially those three places. Just those three places by themselves, nearly all of those, 8 million, 6 million, whatever the number we're debating is, whatever the higher end of that number is, there were that many people just killed in those three places. All right. And like one or two people escaped. And the townspeople in the Polish and East German towns that were next to these places, they knew exactly what was going on there. And you can go there to this day, and the old people that witnessed it can tell you what was going on there. Day and night, the smell of burning bodies. Day and night.
And I'm not doubting the amount.
And all throughout 43. So let there be no doubt.
Well, here's the doubt of the logistics. Not saying it didn't happen. I'm not in that camp at all. But we've had for Sandy Hook on Wolfgang Helbig, and he looks at things logistically, and manpower, time, and ability to people move and do that while you're keeping a slave labor force. I haven't looked into it close enough yet to make a decision, so I'm not going a hard route on anything. That's where the argument is. So is it 400,000 when we've been programmed that number of 6 million to 8 million? When what do? I remember being in 4th grade and seeing that B-roll footage of all the Jewish bodies being bulldozed. And how many times have you seen that? So
right. That's just at Bergen-Belsen. That was just at a work camp.
Right, but they can put that number out there.
Like go and see what the Soviets tore off of that.
Right,
stuff,
but what is that?
The Germans tore the other half of that stuff.
That's trauma-based mind control for even American kids in the 80s. You only got to have it's not like this is a terrible thing to say. You only got to have 2,000 dead bodies being bulldozed into a pit and then put the number out, and that's gonna be with you till the end amount of time. So but the fact that the conspiracy's there and there is a camp that believes a certain thing or has some facts, same as flat earth. I don't think any of us are flat earthers, but a lot of things that they brought up make us go, what the fuck? What we were told and conditioned to K through 12 ain't right.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference. It doesn't hurt nobody to believe in the flat earth. It doesn't hurt nobody to believe in phantom time hypothesis or whatever. It might hurt your sense of decor, but it can hurt people if it's not true.
Sure.
For you to say not as many people. Now, I'm not saying you're trying to hurt anybody or you guys are at all in any way about this, but like because a lot of the misconceptions about the Holocaust have been pushed out into the community by the white supremacist community. If you've been in conspiracy theories for any amount of time, you know that they've been back there the whole time. They don't control everything. A lot of people want to paint all conspiracy theorists as Klansmen and white supremacists and all that shit, and I don't believe any of that. Okay? But you go back and you look at things like Spotlight Magazine, Colonel Bo Gright, all of these people who you might see in a conspiracy documentary, and you might not know who they are. You go back and you start researching kind of some of the stuff that some of these folks were into. And then if we look back at the Nazis themselves, they employed conspiracy theories in the opposite way that we're doing, right? It's a fun intellectual exploration for us. We're trying to get the truth about our society. They knew what the truth about society was and pushed lies on everyone else using
the Tibetan stuff,
like the protocols of the elders of Zion and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And people really believed that stuff back in the 30s, 40s, into the 50s. And what we're seeing with a lot of that John Birch Society stuff, a lot of the stuff the InfoWars folks are flirting with, and some of the others, you can go back and its direct forebearers are in people that you would never ally yourself, that you would never say, oh, I have the same kind of beliefs that they are. We're peers in some way. And that's what worries me, is that those are always not you guys, obviously, but those are always the voices that want to push these ideas about the Holocaust the hardest. And that's what bothers me. And in saying all that, I don't have any particular opinion about Israel or Jewish bankers or whatever. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I have no dog in that hunt.
Yeah.
But I do
I think that's where, God, I'm sorry, please.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say that's where the David Icke the discussion, hopefully someday we'll have him on, and a lot of his presentations are, basically making the accusation that they're being almost put out to dry from these people that are the real problem. Not, you think when you hear Zionists, you think Israel and Jews and this and that. He's talking about the Rothschild Zionists, which is completely separate element. So that when you start thinking that term, it sort of is more like elite New World Order bankers, stuff like that. It's a lot more nuts and bolts than saying it's the holy war than anything else.
And for your average American dude that's into conspiracy theories, that's the way they look at that stuff. But a lot of that stuff, if you go back to the 30s and even the time of the Nazis and all of that stuff, and the Tsarist secret police before that, if you've read The Prague Cemetery by Umberto Eco, I think that was his last novel, deals with some of this. That stuff's going way back. And they were talking about the Rothschilds then. And these were and I'm not saying we're like this now, but these were the people back then. The people that were crying Rothschild and Jew bankers and all that stuff back in the 20s and the 30s are the same people that put them in the damn gas chambers in the 40s. you know, or they're the people that stood by and let that happen. The sort of fascist element in Germany.
Oh, they'll play both sides. They'll sell you the gas chambers, the Zyklon B, and then on the Allies, they'll sell the Allies the same tanks and shit like that. They're all war profiteers, same way.
Oh, absolutely.
And now we have Soros. Now we have Soros as that, behind everything of playing the sides and making sure his tentacles are in every piece of the pie at this point, man. And people have no clue.
About CERN.
And CERN,
CERN.
CERN's behind it all.
Now with Soros, that was one where I kept hearing his name over and over again, and I looked him up. I was like, what's up with this guy? You know, liberal backer, progressive, philanthropist, whatever. I didn't see anything just in the Wikipedia or whatever like that. I was like, that doesn't seem very controversial, but like his name is he's like the new Rothschild, isn't he? He's like the guy. Oh, if there's something bad in the world, you know, I think it's the same thing with the false flag thing. Shit just happens, and some of it might be a false flag, but for us to say every time it's a false flag or every time it's Soros, it starts to reek of crime.
Yeah, but here's the logistics again. We look at Parkland, our videos get banned, yada yada, whatever. That's part of the YouTube machine. We get it, and you know he's hooked up into that. And then the other part of it is, as we break it down on Infinite Fringe with James Fetzer, and they have that big march on Washington, which some of my students as a college professor went to because they feel righteous and no more shootings in our schools. All those applications were applied for months beforehand to have this march before the Parkland shooting ever happened with, David Hogue and all these kids that they marched out on CNN. And guess who's behind that? And guess where the money comes from for the buses? Guess where the money comes from for the protesters, the signs, the activists, the licensing? All comes from Soros-based camps.
You don't think that's
the biggest one too?
I'm not trying to make a statement about gun control here or whether I agree or disagree with it, but you don't think that's those kids? That a lot of that is really coming from the people who were victimized and saw their own kids get shot down?
Easy mind control.
I mean, my kid, for example, I have a 12-year-old. She was very affected by this stuff. She's very affected by this stuff.
Because her mind is no, I'm not saying that she about her safety. I'm not trying to talk bad about your daughter, but a 12-year-old mind is easily malleable when you've put the messages in YouTube commercials. You have the teenagers they're going to be looking up to, all of the stars that come out and have a certain way. All of them are on the payday and take. Why is Beyonce coming out with double bandolero gun straps in a Black Panther thing on the fucking Super Bowl, and 2 years later she's anti-gun everything?
I don't know, man. Like, I'm not like super into guns. I'm not like against them. I own one.
Yeah, but it's just the message. It's like they can easily be twisted, and the kids that the people that the kids look up to, they can use that as a conduit for the message, and they know that, and that's what's going on. That's why you're not going to have old Leatherface Soros come out doing that.
The next question, then. You see, you're kind of begging a question there. If kids get older and turn 18, become voters, and they say, we want universal background checks. We want you to have an insurance policy on your gun. We want to limit the amount of ammunition that you can own or the size of a magazine. What do we say about those people? Are those people like evil by definition? Because that seems like kind of where a lot of that seems to be going. I don't think any of those things.
I would say they're.
I mean, I'm not in government. Right?
Okay, so let's post this out.
That we had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Growing up, like those are laws that have been on the books and gone off the books and gone back on the books.
Okay, but now the things you're talking about now, what if that is going to start entailing? Hey, look, we need to do a background check on Raymond and Wiley. So, in order to get you your gun, not only are you going to have to do this background check, you're going to have to give us. We have to have access to every facet of your life. Because we need to know that you're sane. We need to make sure. And that's not just your financial records,
right,
not
and
just
that's
your criminal
subjective.
record.
And you're right, that's subjective.
Right,
that's completely
not just your
subjective.
criminal
and who
record.
decides
Now we have to go look at your Facebook.
Right.
Let's look at your Facebook. Is your Facebook sane? Are
Yeah.
you posting weird stuff? So, but it's all in the name of safety that the kids have now voted for, and now is a law. And you have nothing to say about it because if you go against it, you're breaking the law that they created that was started a decade ago.
Sure.
And not to
then the law has been that concept this week. The law has come up.
Yeah.
So this concept of
Yes.
this is the law, that is the law. Laws can be good, laws can be bad, all this stuff. And in the same week, we've got people like we got the kids in the camps in Texas, and they're saying, "Well, it's the law. They had to put them." And then over there in Canada, they're like legalizing weed and being like, "It doesn't need to be the law anymore." So.
And then
It's interesting that we kind of got on that topic.
well, it's funny that you just threw the kids in camp in Texas. What about the kids that were in camps in Arizona that nobody cares about anymore?
Sure. Hey,
Let's go.
victim
But they're
deserves our
gone.
sympathy.
They're all
Any
gone.
victim.
Nobody has any idea where they are. They're all gone, and never
Well, see,
happened.
there's a lot of wells out
This
there.
is the point about laws and the things that are scary. The four of us will follow these laws, but what happens when you have a limited? Well, not you, Ben. But what I'm saying is like the criminals don't pay any attention to these laws about the mag. It's always going to be out there on the black market to get that, and then when there's an unfair advantage, you start to end. It's pretty much any more unbelievably anti-police too. So you're going to start there. I wouldn't doubt they would start limiting the police because of all the brutality that they're showing now. So now the police are at a heavy disadvantage to the people that can get guns from anywhere and in any way and modify them because, you're going to get in a lot of trouble now. So you're breaking the law.
I think you're kind of making my point for me here. Like there's no going back.
That's what I mean, right?
There are 200 million assault rifles that have been sold since the assault weapons ban.
But the thing is that I'm saying is
everybody's got one.
Yeah.
And there's no going back on that. There's no walking that back.
That's what they're saying, that they're going to take everything. That's what they would say because we're both making that point.
Okay, guys, you guys surely know veterans. Surely know service members.
Yep.
Surely know some of your local police.
Yep.
County commission members, your neighbors. I just don't see anything like that within the realm of possibility. We don't have enough divisions of regular troops, not even talking about the National Guard and all that. If we brought every regular division of the U.S. Army into the United States and said, we're going to confiscate everyone's rifles and shit. Come on. And that's
I'll give you two examples.
And let me say this is my honest opinion. That is the lie the gun industry sells us on, to try to sell us more of their products when we already have them.
I want to go back to your original statement of with your daughter and all them. It's all about the psyop from Eric Holder of we need to be brainwashing people every day about how they look at guns. And if they've gotten to your daughter at that generation to make them think to vote, to do background checks and all this other shit to give up more civil liberties, then they were successful in that. And that generation will never know the fear of what they should fear in the big tyrant of their government until they're mid-20s and they have that, anti-establishment running through them once again. But by that time, it's going to be too late because they'll have given it up because they got to them at that young age already.
Maybe so.
I want to make
I don't see any malice in any of her, the way she feels about any of that.
I don't trust her at all. I don't trust your daughter.
Is like, she's going to go against liberty or whatever. I really don't think that that's the end result of that. Like I said, hundreds of millions of arms on the streets. We all own them. Hundreds of millions.
But I want to make these 2 points, these two particular things that happened. One was okay, well, maybe because of the situation. The other one, it was pretty clear. New Orleans, they went door to door and they took everybody's guns after the hurricane.
Yeah, they murdered unarmed civilians on the Danziger Bridge. They shot looters, unarmed looters who were just basically trying to get toilet paper and water to survive off of. Absolutely. And when people start talking to me about conspiracy theories and how you can make a difference in the world, that is always the example that I give. A writer for a journalist for, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, ProPublica, got giant plugs in his ears, tattoos everywhere, the most alt-looking guy you ever seen in his world, won the Pulitzer Prize proving that those New Orleans police officers had murdered all those people on the Danziger Bridge and shot all of the unarmed people just trying to get food and water.
So give up your guns, everybody.
I'm not saying you should give up your guns at all.
Give them up.
That was just one piece of the oppression that was going on.
But I was telling you that
was just
you
one
said
part.
overall, the overall like impossibility, the scope of doing that. That's one, but that's kind of like out there with the situation with the hurricane. The Boston Marathon bombing, they had the entire Boston area under martial law, looking for 2 guys, and everybody was in their homes and complied, right, Ben? So what's the next thing? We need to take everybody's guns because we it's not safe out here. We have 2 terrorists. It was one step away from that. They literally shut the whole area down, and that's Boston when there's panic. Everybody was scared. All you need to do is just have an event and just have everybody scared to death and say, don't worry, the government will take care of it.
And shocker that Blackwater and craft services were at the finish line when that shit went down. But, I got to say, man, Raymond.
Racing fans.
Ray, you've been an awesome guest. The chat room has loved you.
Well, you've been a total sport with me, dude.
No, dude.
I hope I haven't been busting your balls.
Not at all, man. I take heat all the time.
Let me just say, in the chat room, as predicted, there has been an outcry of Ray should be a replacement on the show.
Brian.
And we were also discussing how we're just going to maybe call you the second Becky or the second Darren, and just call you Papa Don anyway.
Yeah.
But everybody is telling you you are an amazing guest. They're loving you. And were you talking about Christopher Dorner? Is that who the guy you're talking about?
In California, who was
the plugs that won the Pulitzer Prize? I think that was his name.
Yeah,
and
that's from Abe. Abe Pash called. He knew the guy's name.
Yeah, he wants us to cover Chris Dorner and his death.
Whenever people ask me, "Oh, what news service should I watch? What news can you trust?" Frontline, ProPublica, Frontline. You can absolutely trust, and that was exactly who broke that story and has broken a number of other stories like that. So
that guy's going to end up dead soon.
Oh no, he is dead. He was killed in California in a shootout, I believe.
Was he?
I think that's the one where they cornered him and shot into, like they said that he had a gun in there, and they just lit up the cabin.
The older guy with the glasses who narrated the thing?
Oh no,
Chris Dorner.
Chris Dorner.
I thought he killed the narrator.
No.
We can't have this show anymore. God damn it.
But
they're shooting everybody.
Stevie, I want to say.
I gotta look that up.
Yeah.
This Christopher Dorner stuff. That's his name.
Dorner.
And you're not talking about the Fast and Furious guy. We're not talking about.
No. That was another dude.
That Paul Walker.
That's Paul Walker, and not the dude whose car exploded. But Stevie, thank you so much for grabbing Raymond to come on with us. Raymond, Wiley, you guys. I mean, I've been getting text messages from Billy Ray, Big Ray, all the Rays I know. Ray Mysterio, and they all think that you just been a phenomenal guest here on the Horsemen, man, and definitely open invitation to come back, dude. So we definitely want to have you back, and we'll be in touch very soon because I'm sure people are going to be clamoring to have you on. But I just want to say thank you on behalf of Greek God Papa Don for taking this spot tonight. You've done a wonderful job, and you didn't even have to get up to piss one time, so that's fun.
No piss breaks from Ray.
Hey, I thought ahead. You guys have a great night. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you got anything you want to promote or plug? You got the book real quick?
Right here. See ya.
Later, guys.
What about the book, right? You talk about the book.
Oh yeah. Let me shill the book for a minute.
Please do, man.
Please do. Plug, man. This guy's over. I love it.
The Georgia Guidestones, America's Most Mysterious Monument on Disinfo Books from back in the day, and check it out. You can get an audiobook or Kindle or whatever they have, and I think it's super cheap.
Twitter, place we can find you on Twitter or out there, or are you off the grid?
You can find me on Facebook. Just look up Raymond Wiley. I got a picture of Elam Garrick as my Facebook profile picture. So if you see Garrick, now I'm warning you that you conspiracy lovers out there, dudes, don't hate me too much. If you get on my Facebook, I say some liberal shit sometimes.
It's all right. It's all love, bro.
He'll sign your book. He'll sign the book for you if you see him at the Guidestones.
I sure will. And Soros paid me so much.
Good on you, bro. Get your payday, brother. Get your payday. Later, man. Brother. Thank you. Stevie, you got him.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll talk soon, Ray.
Wow. Awesome, awesome,
Cool.
awesome guest, you guys. Just a great bit of information on every front. I'm glad we kind of went down a couple other rabbit holes there just to show that this guy is, so in tune with everything we're talking about. And I'm glad, as we've been blamed for too much conservatism. That's the other side of the coin. And this is, the imagination and the lust for information is what's going to bring us all together. So I just want to thank Raymond Wiley. I want to thank you, Stevie, for hooking that up. Just one of our best guests ever, as Big Sal is now both Stevie and Raymond. So let me switch the names here around real quick. Let's just.
I'm we have to thank my wife because
absolutely.
She really went out there and researched, and I got in touch with him, but she had all the information on him. He was really up at the top of all the lists. That the book is incredible. It's an easy read, so you can read that and then go back and listen to the episode again. You'll probably pick up a little thing or two after that. I can't wait to sit down with him and actually have the video version of the interview at the Guidestones and do all that stuff. My God, I mean, the ultimate thing would be if we can meet out there and actually do the interview at the Guidestones early one morning would be incredible. But it's a far drive, so we can settle for the library. But it'd be cool. That documentary will be coming probably sometime before Trump is reelected.
Awesome. We got Super Big Sal on the left. So Sal, you are now Big Sal and Raymond. But congratulations,
Excellent.
You deserve.
Oh my God! Look at him. He looks like fucking Ant-Man looking through a window of skyscraper.
Oh, is that what the hell? Okay, so
Yeah.
just for the record, I don't have the full thing up. I just have like this.
Oh, just
and
the
then
chat gimmick.
And then like the Skype, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see what the hell everybody's talking about. And they're like, Sal's too big. He's taking up 2 boxes. I'm going, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah, you're half the screen, and Stevie
Now
and I
it
are
makes
still
sense.
split.
All right.
It looks awesome. I wouldn't have you any other way, man.
There we go.
So right now, you guys, in the time we got left, and you guys stacked it up. It almost doubled today. I'm gonna get to the Conspiracy Horseman mailbag. Anything you guys want to add before we go into it, man? Because legit, and today we got 9 new messages. Stevie asked me yesterday, how many do we have? I was like, we only got about 7 or 8. Now we've got about 16 or 17. So I'm gonna try and get through these, man. Yeah, dude.
Well, maybe we just do like 5 of them today and then hit the other ones.
We got time. Yeah, I mean, we got, what do we got left? 35 minutes.
That's
right.
Early for a show.
Yeah, for us it is, man. But again, just
no piss break, so we ran through it a little quicker.
And maybe GGP will do a run in here. We'll see. But once again, just an awesome guest. Very pumped about tonight's show. I can't say enough about it. So, and you guys in the chat room kicking ass. I think we were up to 46 at one time, and everyone seems like they're having a good time tonight. Good to see my man Big Ray Show from the Impact Attack, and they're having a great time. I'm always glad when he can join us. And everyone, the hardcores are all in there tonight. So appreciate you guys in the twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horseman chat room. Alrighty, so on to the gender neutral messaging system. How's that, Stevie?
Very robotic. Thank you. We only offended 20% of everybody because somebody out there is like binary sex bot now.
Whatever.
Whatever.
From Chad Calder, it is I, the open-minded skeptic. So I'm not on the message boards or Twitch, but I've listened to every show the Horsemen have put on since the Conspiracy Horsemen were an actual standalone show. I just listen to them on Fridays while I'm working. Well, thank you. There are 2 points I feel I need to bring up. One I think is very important. The other is just a jab at Stevie. The first, I loved your show on the Franklin scandal, but you do something during the show that I believe is very harmful to your cause that you have to stop. Well, we'll see about that. Multiple times during the show, you stated, if 1% of the stories are true, then most all the stories must be true. This philosophy does the greatest harm to expose conspiracies and seeking justice. What this philosophy does is open you up to the counter-argument from debunkers or cover-up operatives to devalue everything you are exposing. What happens is that your opponents can grab a hold of their stories that they can prove or plant in lies and then say, look, these are all lies, so it's all a lie. Predictive media example. On the TV show Oz, there was an example where a convict played by LL Cool J told everyone he was a corrupt governor's personal drug dealer. Enemies of the governor jumped on this as they tried to expose him. Short version, the drug dealer was lying when he exposed as a liar, and the governor, who was corrupt as shit, was able to use this to bury the real allegations about him and get him reelected. What I feel needs to be done is a focus on the 1% that can be proven, put the rest to the side, focus and prove that 1%, then that 1% becomes 2%, then 3%, then the wolves start to turn on each other, and the whole thing starts to tear itself apart. Now, to Stevie, the curvature of the earth. Yes, curvature of the earth is totally irrelevant to the earthwork construction. 2 reasons. The number is an average, not an actual measurement, and how accurate it depends on where you are on earth as it changes. I come from the prairies of Manitoba, arguably one of the flattest places on the continent. When building or designing any earthwork construction, roads, pipelines, buried water, or electrical, the curvature of the earth is 100% irrelevant. What matters is the elevation and the depression of the local topography. When you have a factor in the rolling hills and the elevation of 300 feet, then depress another 200 feet before rising again. A theoretical inch over a mile is irrelevant compared to the actual measurements of local topography. Sorry, I worked in earthwork construction, and that one really bothered me because it's used a lot, but holds no basis on the fact. The reason people like your dad never considered it is because it's totally irrelevant. Well, it wasn't his dad; it was Flying Jay's
Curious
dad.
Jade.
Yeah.
My dad was a truck driver. God damn, where's the curvature?
Where's my curvature? I will continue to listen every week. Well, actually, every day since Hacker Hameen Media is my go-to for wrestling and conspiracy podcast with an open mind but skeptical eye. Chad Ripley, retired worker, open-minded skeptic. P.S. To make it up to Stevie, I'm ordering my Stevie Richards workout next week. Do you have any recommendations for where to order the resistance bands in Canada, since apparently we are more of a threat to the U.S. national security than North Korea? Thank you, Chad. Good points all the way around. I respect what you got to say. The 1% thing, is more not necessarily of like, if 1% is true, then we got to. It's just the fact that we can untwist one lie, so everything else that they say after that, what the fuck am I supposed to believe from you? That's where we're going. I totally see your side of the coin of how that opens the door, and we'll do a little bit better job maybe to do 2 or 3%. Stevie?
Well, this is the Cosby math, and this is what Sal has talked about. And I think the best analogy is that, Cosby, like, raped, I don't know, whatever, supposedly, 4 dozen women or whatever, not all at once. But the thing is, if he only raped one of them, if he drugged and raped one of them, he's still a rapist. Right. Correct?
Right. Yes.
It's not saying, well, the other 48 are lying, so who gives a fuck about the one? That's essentially a good analogy on that, right? If there's one thing that doesn't add up about this, we have to explore that. You can't close this one thing off and just say, well, everything else is false and we don't believe it. So therefore, that one thing that really looks like a lie, we don't care about it because we're just playing the general odds. We love the fact just like we talked about Ray, we love the fact that we're getting these emails and we want to have an open, honest discussion with people and respect everybody's opinion. As far as the Earth stuff, I'm just going off of what a civil engineer, Curious Jay's dad, that was the most profound evidence to me, was he was building pipelines, he was building bridges, designing all this stuff, and never factored the curvature into that. I would guess you'd have to do it sooner or later.
And he was talking like 700 to 900 miles of pipeline, right?
Yes.
So serious drop. Now, when we watched that South American documentary where they're
Convex Earth one,
Convex Earth at Lake Titicaca, thank you, and they're putting the laser across the whole entire lake, and there should be 6 meters of drop, but it's not. It's still hitting the target. That would show to me that something ain't right, and not that I'm the greatest mathematician or anything along those lines, but as it works out and it should be there and it's not there, that's just an untying of some bullshit lie that we've been conditioned to. Now, where do we go from there? I don't know, but I know what they have been telling me since I was 6 years old doesn't match up with what the scientific method and experiment is. It's not like they're going based on emotion. They're putting a target up, they're putting the laser up, the math is there of what the drop should be, and it's not. Or boats disappearing off of the horizon, and then you put the lens up there to look at them, and they're still right where they should be with no drop whatsoever. So, the optical illusion that may have made people say, oh, the earth is round because look at this, is easily disproven because of the fallibility of the human eye and the horizon line of how far our vision goes, you know.
Let me do one more analogy, just because this is the easiest one to do as far as the 1%. All right, the 9/11 has a lot of things that don't add up. Also, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. The no planes one, the directed energy weapon, tactical nukes, that are a lot more exotic and a lot harder to believe than just, hey, the government did something and just wanted to further a war. But still, the official story is actually the conspiracy theory that does not add up. It's actually the one with the most amount of holes in it. So do you say, well, yeah, I mean, the official story doesn't add up, but these things are even crazier. So let's just say it's the official story,
right?
Because that seems like that's the least craziest lie. So let's go with that one. Is that also a good analogy? Like,
sure.
A lie is a lie when something doesn't, like we can be suspects in a murder and say, okay, well, I mean, I was in the area at that time. I knew the person. I was alone with them for an hour, but I heard that guy during the day doesn't like him either, even though he wasn't around. Like, you know, I saw them fight earlier in the day, even though I was there. Well, I'm not the suspect anymore. No. That might be a little weaker, but you see what I mean?
You're right on.
In a real crime situation, you can't twist the evidence like that and say, okay, I'm sort of guilty, but I bet you somebody out there is more guilty than me.
59 Clinton murders with 1 degree of separation. Nobody's looking into shit. Where can you get the bands in Canada? What's a good company?
I would go to Amazon if you want. Just send me an email. I'll send you the links. We'll either go with the Dynapros and with the original ones, the Lifelines, are both on Amazon. Whichever ones you can get the quickest, so that way you can get started and be happy to help you with anything. And like I said, thank you so much. We don't just, even if you come at us and you say, listen, it doesn't make any sense. I don't believe a word you guys say. Your actual honest opinion is always welcome. Your viewpoint, you know. So email us. You don't have to worry or agree with us.
Yeah, like in that, somebody actually, a friend of mine texted. He said, "Were you guys getting hot at that guy?" I said, "No, man. I'd rather have a conversation with somebody who has a challenge, who brings something up."
Sure.
You know, like who wants to sit in an echo chamber, like, and just listen to the same. That's what these guys are doing on Twitter. They sit and everybody kisses their ass and tells them how wonderful their genius ideas or their Twitter. Oh, they're so funny. I agree with you 100%. You need somebody to come every now and then to come up and say, no, hey, I don't agree with you. And, you know, hey, why do you believe that? And that way you can explain, you know, like I think it would just be so boring to just listen to people just sit there and kiss your ass all day.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and then on top of that, that's not doing anybody a service.
You're gonna kiss my ass all day, Austin.
Oh, they love the echo chamber there.
Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah. Here we go. What up, horsemen? Call me Sensei here. All one word. I have a question for you. I don't have a gimmick to get over yet, so I'll keep it quick and stay safe until I'm ready for my main event push, LOL. 9/11 woke me up like most of us, and throughout the years I've been skeptical, but eventually opened up to see other conspiracies as truth after thinking they were crazy. But like everything, there are levels. For instance, I'm far past believing 9/11 being planned or at least allowed, and I'm right with you guys on aliens and the fake moon landing, but I'm not yet on the level where I can believe things like numerology. I feel like you can take any group of numbers and make them mean what you wish using some form of arithmetic. My question to you guys is, what's the one conspiracy out there that you guys just can't get with? I'd like to hear all your guys' answers. Thank you in advance. Keep up the great work. Call me Sensei. P.S. Oh shit, I almost forgot. I'm a traditional and digital artist, and I'll be sending you guys some Horseman designs I've been working on later. Awesome, bro.
Oh,
appreciate that. We love it. And shout out Greg Mosier. I know he just sent us an email. I'm going to try and get to it. We got a laundry list here to get through, but he did an awesome design for us, and you can get that shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/Stevie Richards /Bin Hameen in black or gray. Yeah, we kind of got this one before, and I think we covered a little bit of it tonight because I was thinking about this on the ride home when I was coming back with wife 121 from Bin Hameen, where I was eating a lot of lobster this weekend. What one don't we believe in? And I got to say that Holocaust one is tough. Nuclear bombs not being real is another tough one for me. Both of those are borderline. But then I'm thinking about the operant conditioning, the trauma-based mind control that we were put under when I was like, man, 4th grade. I was trying to think, when was about the time I saw that the first time all those Jewish bodies being pushed with a bulldozer? I was 11 years old. That's a young age to witness some horrific shit like that, right? You just kind of learn about Hitler and the Nazis, and it's, you know, you're using as a young mind that those words to sling around and shit like that. And they even use it now. Not how much has Nazi come back in 2018, 2017 as a fucking word to like demean and demoralize. Not that it should be raised up, but like, you know, that was what in the 80s we were learning about of let's never let this happen again. They're the most evil. But winners of history get to write it. So, you know, that's like, all right, and we need to look into these numbers. So that's one where I'm kind of on the fence still. Not that I don't believe it was 6 million Jews, but that's one, that's a conspiracy theory where I'm like, you're playing with fire there, bro. We need to look into this a little bit more. Sally, what are you thinking, man?
Again, the Holocaust thing is, you know, you were talking about you were having the same discussion about watching the bulldoze those people, and it's like that's still a fucking Holocaust. Like that's still
right
horrible, and you know, but like again, the numbers seem to kind of just get inflated, or you know, whatever they. And the thing is, it hasn't harmed anybody. Again, like Ray was saying, you know, it's not harming anybody. The numbers being inflated, it just kind of pushes the cause. But again, I can't get behind the whole it never happened. And again, and even flat Earth, like that's the other one I just can't get behind it and be like, yeah, I'll look at that. That sounds more. It just doesn't click for me for some reason. It's just not. It doesn't make sense.
But does the things we've uncovered based upon some of their arguments click with you?
Well, what you're explaining is, you know, A to B to C to D. So, yeah, I understand that.
I explained it A to B to 3 to 4. That's all.
Well, that's the proper way to explain it.
Stevie?
Well, I wanted to say, too, that the thing that makes me think that the Holocaust is real with the numbers is that there are really sick fucks out there that lack the empathy. And the analogy for that is the U.S. government. I think we've killed more than 6 million people just since the Gulf War, maybe. Talking about what we've done there. I mean, with the sanctions and all that stuff. And, you know, with Hitler doing that and what he wanted to do, that was the birth of eugenics, wasn't it? 20s, 30s, 40s. That was the birth of the eugenics movement and possibly what we see on those Guidestones. So, you know, there's people that just have this way of just not caring about like what a human being feels, whether it's a child, a woman, an animal, or, you know, or any kind of living being. So I think that number's real.
Yeah. Is there a fascination with Frankenstein, Mary Shelley? I mean, before that, where else was eugenics, you know, of treating humans as just experiments, lab rats at that time?
Well, one would say that what's his face, Jack the Ripper was somebody that would do that too. Even though they're saying that that's a hoax now or something.
Yeah, that's something we need to look into. Somebody had sent us that stuff as well. Yep.
Yeah, but Jack the Ripper, supposedly this was all just a curiosity type thing for him, the human body and you know, biology and all that stuff. So that could be kind of a form of that. I don't know, man. I would have to say too that nuclear bombs and the dinosaur stuff, I can't really get behind that. The nuclear bomb thing, once again, because human beings create terrible things, and there's too many instances where things were about to go down or things have gone down that have caused, you know, because they're saying Chernobyl, you can go there. They just cordon off the city. So like, why? You see what I mean? Like, no nuclear waste is there. You can go there and all that stuff, but they just got people out of the city. But I always have to ask why. The 3 Mile Island thing and all the cancer instances of people to live around nuclear plants or any kind of power plants like that or any kind of health problems. It's a dangerous thing. So I can't really think. And we would create something that would blow up the world 4 times because we're fucking stupid like that. Like what does anybody gain from that? The dinosaurs thing, I think the Earth is older than 2,000, 3,000 years old. And I do not believe, though, I'd have to believe that we're not getting oil just from dinosaurs. We talked about that last week. That part I don't believe.
Yeah, I think like that alone, there's your 1% shit of like, all right, they fucking lied to us. They got us with imagination and they pushed that shit when they knew the truth. So, it's just fucking bullshit.
They're mixing their lies and different stuff and truth, and that's part of the psyop.
Yeah, absolutely. That you can't tell where the line is. From Brent Logan, big supporter, I believe, from Realm Network. Hey, Horseman, I've always been fascinated in serial killer mass murder stories. I don't know if you've done anything about Dr. Harold Shipman. He was known as Dr. Death. Not the Dr. Death Salon I know from OVW, but another Dr. Death. In the UK, and people think he had over 250 murder victims. I've inserted a link to a 45-minute documentary on him. Talks about his childhood, his killings, etc. My question, after you guys watch this, is how in the blue fuck did this go unnoticed for so long? Do governments actually breed people like Shipman, Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez, Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold, etc. to either bring down population levels, keep the media funded, make the police look good? Have people made money off of people like this from writing books, etc.? Or does the world just breed evil people? Would love to hear your guys' thoughts, Brent Logan. Looking forward to this one, man. Appreciate you sending it along. We'll try and watch it this week. Maybe have a little something next week on it as we follow up. Sal, you seem to know about Dr. Death more than I do.
He was one of the long serial killers. But his other question of all those people like Richard Ramirez, all those guys all had the one thing in common: they all had head injuries. They had shitty childhood and massive traumatic head injuries. So that seems to be a link. And I'm not going to, and again, that's a theory. I can't say, that's the link. They've all suffered them though. So,
interesting.
I don't think they had the numbers for population control. You know what I mean? Like they weren't even racking those numbers up. Like, even if you want to say, if you want to explode them and say, this guy got 75 people. Who gives a shit? Drop of a hat. That is not population control. That's
I think there's
thin in the herd.
I think there's something to there's going to be psychopathic tendencies handed down and through generations, and sometimes it'll manifest itself as the strong side of a personality. And was this dude killing, cats and puppies for fun when he was little, and it turns out to be something bigger than that as he gets older, as the thrill kill needs to go up the ladder. It'll be interesting. I'll take a look into it. I had heard of the name before. I'm just not as familiar when it comes to. You mentioned Dylan Klebold, which I believe was the school shooter in Columbine. I'm not trying to stick up for fucking Dylan Klebold here, but I don't put people like that in the same category as a Jack the Ripper, someone who's a meticulous killer who's, taking out intestines or what have you, and doing something that's a far more one-to-one with a knife and kills multiple times over X amount of years, as opposed to a shooting spree person. So are they engineering these people? Are they doing that? I'm sure that some of them are targeted to be assassins on a born identity level or trained to do that. But I think there is just, you got 100 apples, one or two of them is going to be rotten. That's just how it is. And one rotten apple, I don't know if it spoils the bunch or not, but they're all going to look at it. That's for sure. Stevie?
So these people, like you said, Sal, most of them had some kind of traumatic head injury. I would be very interested to see in modern times if they would test out those people for CTE. Yeah. You're talking about the Rock and Rebel stuff. You're talking about the Benoit stuff. Yeah. You're talking about the erratic behavior of a lot of people. Maybe it's not 1,000 mini car crashes like football players. Maybe it was just that one, and then it just cascaded. And the same thing with wrestlers. Maybe that one hit or two hits, or maybe that big hit for them, not being professional athletes, also set them on a course. Which is really interesting, because it's just you can't diagnose CTE until you're already deceased. if you could diagnose it when you're alive, I wonder how many people use that as a defense to get out of murder or mass murder.
That's the thing. Once that gets dropped, that you can't go back. You know, that's back in the whole satanic panic. Once that came out in the 80s, that became the number one defense. That became the defense of every lawyer who teenager killed someone or there was something going on. The first thing they did was drop the music that they listened to.
Yeah.
They were mind controlled.
How about
by Ozzy Osbourne?
I know you guys were pissed about that story this week about video games being a mental illness for gamer addiction, right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, he must have watched our Far Cry 5. Kill, revive, repeat. So nothing to see here.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Sal. Go ahead, finish what you were saying, man.
No,
I did too. I'm sorry.
That's it. No, not at all. But like that's pretty much it. Like once you open that bag, every piece of shit lawyer is going to use that as their get off.
Sure. And that's why we're glad Colt Cabana and CM Punk won their lawsuits, so we can't be held liable from here. But we'll watch that, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Thank you for sending that. And thanks for all the support online and all the interactivity. Hello, Horsemen from Charles Lindstrom here. Hope you all are doing well. I love the show. Started listening when Russo picked you guys up, and it's really opened my mind. I have been reading a lot of Dr. Greer's book, Unacknowledged. Have you read it? What do you think about it? I've also been watching a lot of Secure Team 10. What do you guys think of Tyler Glockner's show? I didn't know that was Tyler's last name. I like that last name, Glockner. Any chance you guys would have either of them on? Great job on the show. Plinst. Sent from my T-Mobile 4G LTE device. Yeah, man, I haven't read Greer's book. I've watched a lot of his videos, and Tyler we're big fans of too. I think we've sent them both messages. I don't know if we sent Greer. Steve, did you send Greer an email about possibly being on?
Well, Greer, I've sent him a couple emails. I actually have unacknowledged the book, and we took it out of the library. But it's up on YouTube as well if you don't want to watch or read the book. You can watch the video on that. I haven't reached out to Tyler, which is weird because we share his videos all the time.
I did reach out to him and got no-sold.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Greer hasn't gotten back to me. I've reached out to Greer, David Icke, also a couple of flat earthers, Eric Dubay, which, Sal can't wait to talk to him. Paul on a plane. D. Marble, I was looking for his information.
Brad Meltzer said thanks, but no thanks.
What's that?
Brad Meltzer said thanks, but his wife would divorce him if he did any more podcasts and that shit.
I don't think that's the problem.
That makes sense.
But also, we should send an email to Soros, so he can answer all these charges.
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't it be amazing if we email one like Trump and it's like, sure, I'll be on. It's like, for what? That's great.
Yeah, that would be fucking
also,
awesome.
just since we were sending out emails, CERN has not answered me back for my request. I did write to them, ask them to if they'd like to be on, if they'd like to actually give us some sort of a press release, and no, I've yet to be answered.
Who was that, CERN? Oh,
yes.
Do you have an inside contact? Of course, you have an inside contact there.
I'm just saying, no one has answered me back yet. I'm a little upsetting.
Well, I'll fire at him this week too.
I think this is a good opportunity to tell people to email us at conspiracyhorseman@gmail.com and let us know what guests you would like to be on. And also, people tweeted Ike for 24 hours after we put it out there.
Yeah.
So tweet David Icke, reach out to Dr. Gurry. I think he just has a Facebook page. Reach out to these people. Tell them you want to, and be friendly. Don't be mean to them. But tell them that you want them to appear on the show. It'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's only going to make our acumen raise when David Icke comes on here, and we got no doubt that we can hold our own on that level, and we're just big supporters, and would definitely like to have that high level guest, and someplace where he's not going to be ridiculed or has to do the baby steps for people, because you guys are all high level listeners, and we know that. So, but appreciate it. Unacknowledged, seen the videos and whatnot. I think Greer's excellent. I like. His content delivery can get a little long in the tooth. I think Tyler is doing it better than anybody else is right now because he gets so much footage sent to him, and he keeps skeptical, but at the same time, he's built a body of work that's undeniable, really, of what ifs and what the fucks. And if you got 500 of those, then it is. But then he also goes, because he gets so many views and YouTube sends him the golden button or whatever the fuck that means. And he puts it over, but then they turn around and ban some of his shit. And he acts like, he's back with the cool kids again who are edgy. Well, what one are you? Are you YouTube darling? Are you, on the cusp of trying to get information out and awaken people? I don't know if I'm down with playing both sides of the coin like that.
Good point. Oh, by the way, maybe I just thought of two more people. I think I can reach out to Ray, and next time I talk to him, and ask him about Graham Hancock, because he wrote the foreword in his book.
Cool.
He would be a pretty amazing guest.
Sure, absolutely.
Talking about the pyramids, talking about Mars, talking about all this stuff. It would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I really want to. What he might be great for is.
Why? What are you making fun of me? Well, hold on.
No, it's not you, dude. No, GGP only as a guest.
Somebody, in the chat room.
Shit.
They called him the Wally. For people that are football or baseball fans, they called GGP Wally Pip, and they were like, "Who's Wally Pip?" It's a famous thing. Bill Belichick. If you watch his football life on YouTube, he goes up to Wes Walker and he goes, "Hey," because the Edelman, the rookie, and just returned like a kickoff for a touchdown, like its first thing right off the bat. Wes Walker was the return guy, wide receiver, and he goes, "Hey, you ever hear Wally Pip?" And he's like, "No, who's that?" And he goes, "Oh, he's the guy that started first base before Lou Gehrig, before he started like 23,000 games." So that's what GDP has been. So Ray is Lou Gehrig now.
Nice. We got Eddie Bravo and Joey Diaz too in there as well. Also be great guests, no doubt. Matthew Masajewski, Polish name. All right. Hey guys, MMAC27, aka Matthew, Polish name here. Just listened to your recent podcast with Vince Russo and your discussion on transhumanism, transferring consciousness. The second half of this season of Westworld has been dealing with transferring consciousness and living forever. Spoiler alert, if you find out that purpose behind Westworld is to study the guest's behavior so they can more accurately transfer their brain into a robot or virtual reality. Seems like exactly what you're talking about in the transhumanist movement, so it seems like the definite predictive programming. Also, Black Mirror has tons of movies showing virtual reality or advanced AI. It sure seems like they're ramping up programming related to both. Also, I was curious as what you guys thought about the Deep State. The first episode just aired this last Saturday. As always, keep up the great work. I haven't watched Deep State. I need to get back into Westworld. First 3 episodes killed me because you guys have been sending me this stuff, so I don't want to diss you out, but it's a crazy run through June, you guys. Hopefully July I might be able to catch up, but appreciate you guys putting it on there. It's definitely in all of our minds. Black Mirror is excellent as well, but at the end of the day, no matter how good the show is, we've talked about this, Operation Mockingbird, CIA embedded in everything, every movie that you watch pretty much now. What are they trying to push with predictive programming here just to get the masses ready for it? And if you want to watch some cool video, type in 2045 and the letter R and the letter U after it. It's from, I think, like 2012 actually now. Pretty much lays out everything we're talking about and seeing of what the plan is for transhumanism. Sal and I are behind it. It's just scary how fast it's being unraveled, and I don't know if our minds are ready to handle it yet. Sally?
No, that's good with it. Like, I couldn't get into Westworld myself. Again, that was just something never got into. Altered Carbon started out okay, but it kind of just lost me.
Right. That shows to me that it's all about agenda push and not actual creative writing too, right? When the show kind of tanks a little bit, you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. I was hoping for more because again, being a tabletop gamer, like I know that's like a straight out of the books, you know, shit like that, you know, transferring your essence into something else, and as long as you don't destroy that fucking chip, you're fine, you know, that sort of deal.
Right.
So I don't know. Again, everybody is, oh, you got to see Westworld. I'm just not digging it. So,
what do you think, Stevie?
I got something I just saw on Facebook that a mass shooting in Jersey Arts Festival leaves 1 dead, 22 injured. Why didn't you hear about it? Because it involved 2 violent gang members who obtained their weapons illegally in a state where some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So,
and then there was another one where there was the shooting. Was it Walmart? And somebody with a concealed carry took the person down before they could do more damage, and we didn't hear about that one either.
Was that on Sunday or Monday?
I think that was Sunday.
Yeah, like I know it happened over the weekend and just got wiped out. Nothing.
Yeah. Transhuman, I haven't seen any of those shows. I haven't watched them. I have to catch up, and I have to try Westworld. I haven't seen any of it yet, so that'll be something I'll watch. And the transhumanism is interesting because is this so far away from what we're talking about with the chip stuff where they could shut us down, kill us?
It is and it isn't. I mean, if we're talking about transhumanism, the first thing that needs to happen is a cloning of your, whatever you want to call it, soul, memories, your entire brain mapping system, which we're obviously at that point. And then you're saying at that point, is that really you? Because let's say I could hold that in my hand on a chip. Now I'm holding a clone of myself. So it's really just the impression of it. And then you can put that into an avatar, whether it's on iRobot Generation 1 version, which on this 2045 RU video, it maps it out. And by years, the first ones will kind of be like our iRobot. Then they'll actually become nanobots. So I could look like Stevie Richards' body type if I want to without having to do the band programs because I just program my nanobots to look jacked.
That's a terrible idea.
Or
that'll be the other thing you sell. Just sell Stevie Richards
chips.
Nanobots. You ain't gonna do a fucking workout. Just take the chips.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to keep that at $14.99.
And then the last one is
somebody will thumbs down it.
A digital version.
Yeah, exactly.
A digital version of ourself. But the way that lays it out is that it wants man to have robots to be able to do all of our jobs so we can spend time getting to enlightenment and getting back to being human. But the way we do that is cloning ourselves and putting ourselves into avatars that aren't human so we can act human forever. It's like a strange catch-22, all the way around. So it's very weird, but that video does lay it out. And this program has been underway since early 2000s, and we're here, and now they're conditioning the masses to it. Absolutely. So, but it begs the question of once any of us die, and what our natural organic bodies have given us and what we've learned and our shared experience as humans and developed who we are and whatever, if you believe in soul or you just believe that we're energy machines in our consciousness, are we transferring that actual consciousness into a machine, or are we just taking a copy of it, and is that copy not the actual consciousness in version 1? Now we're just kind of a machine that acted like Ben Hameen, that acted like Big Sal, that acted like Stevie. It's not the real thing anymore. But the machine won't know it.
Right.
This is very similar to, in my opinion, Superman in the cave when he talks to his dad, the fortress or whatever it is.
Right, well, that's, and paranoia, that's you got an extended amount of clones, you could just keep switching. So if you died, boom, you were the next clone. You woke up knowing what you knew, go.
But the clone won't be organic. It's going to be all an avatar that goes from a robot to nanobots to just a digital entity.
Well, again, like that's it's an upgrade for It's like that.
No, I was saying an upgrade. The upgrade. Technically, if you want to say we're still in a simulation theory, that's an upgrade to the Matrix.
Yeah,
like it's upgrading their software and the hardware for all that stuff. I tell everybody out there, please. Well, I'm going to watch it again the 6th day, even though it's all organic clones. Mm-hmm. It's just a very interesting bit of predictive programming too.
Cherry 2000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like if Papa Don was here, he'd be no. But honestly, like when we were talking about it the other day, I just don't see the downside of it.
Well, I do know. I do a little bit from, you see, it's all based on faith and belief. some people would probably maybe consider it to be sort of like hell, because you never get to move on to the next plane of existence. You never get to move on to what we consider to be. I'm just saying
What if you're having a good time here?
I don't see anybody having a fucking good time here right now. So we are right this second. But
the other argument is that it's
life
not.
Is pretty miserable.
The other argument is that it's not you. Like, so when you die, no matter if you clone or transfer your consciousness, it's a mimic of what you were. It's really not your actual consciousness. When you die, if he dies, he dies. So, that's just what it is. Unless there's a way that.
What's the point of it then? What's the point if you can't carry on or immortality?
I don't know. I think that they want to be able to do that, and that's the crossover. So sure, we can brain map. Sure, we can show all the impulses. We can make the algorithms that read your brain impulses in real time. Will give the 99.9% response that you would give. But until we can do it's alive, Frankenstein blast the consciousness into him, into another, maybe they can take a cadaver and I'm already on my deathbed and they are able to transfer that into them and I come through and I'm in this new body.
That movie, Get Out.
Is that
was the whole spoiler. That was the whole deal. And it was a total swerve. You're like, this whole movie about this, this black dude and meets this nice white chick, and end of the story, it's about putting your brain in these rich dudes' bodies, reverse that, putting these rich dudes' brains inside, these younger guys like that, just experiencing a whole other life sort of thing. And it was a big conspiracy thing going on with them, and this has been happening for years and years. And so it's all there, it's all out there of, as far as it's programming, predictive programming.
Right.
So what's that Ben Kingsley and Bradley Cooper movie again? I brought it up before where
with the pill. Is that the one?
No, he's in a little kind of it looked like a morgue type of stretcher thing, and he transferred his consciousness into Bradley Cooper because he was getting old. I think he was sick or dying, and he got to go be in Bradley Cooper's body. He was a very rich old man.
See, and that came out.
I forget the name.
I know that came out. That came out at the same time. Didn't the one where Ryan Reynolds was like an assassin who got body implanted?
I haven't seen either.
Ryan Reynolds might have been the one in the movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, one dies.
Not Bradley.
Yeah, one dies and he gets he gets put into an assassin's body, or you reverse it or something. I don't remember, but yeah, I thought it was around the same, or was that the same movie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it might have been the same movie.
I think it is.
Dude, I feel like a cross between Vince Russo and my mom.
Selfless. Selfless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bro, they made trillions on that movie, bro.
from David Disco Smith, Horseman. Hello, the nickname's Disco, no relation to Inferno. LOL, I'm over in Scotland in the UK. Hopefully you're not the same Disco as me and a Peckerhead tonight in the chat room. I've been on board since the great Vinny Rue brought you guys to the brand, and I haven't missed a show yet. I some weeks watch you guys on Twitch, now absolutely love it, and I find myself spreading the knowledge on a weekly basis to anyone that will listen. I'll keep it short so I don't get heat with Ben. You briefly mentioned it, and I'm not sure if you take requests, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on the death of Princess Diana and the royal family's involvement in her death. And lastly, you guys got me thinking about false flag shootings. Have you ever heard of any rumors on the Dunblane school shooting in Scotland over 20 years ago? Look forward to hearing my mail read out. Don't stop, guys. Y'all, y'all, bro. Let's see. With Princess Diana, she's banging two Arab guys, one to make the other Arab guy that she really liked jealous. She had a lot of inside info on what was going on with the power elites and probably the pedophile rings and how they were abusing things. And if you want to talk about cloning, that might have been going on too. And, her husband, her arranged marriage husband, was banging the help as well and wanted her gone. And easy to pin it on paparazzi at that time before there was a TMZ of how hot things were. And seems like crashes, whether it's airplane or cars, seems like their favorite way to get rid of somebody without doing it in assassination style. So there's always that what if mythos there. I believe she was totally whacked out. It wasn't some paparazzi hit. These blue bloods play at a high level, and not that I say Diana should be whacked out, but all of them need to be exposed and have their power taken away from them and stripped away. It's just crazy that people even put these people on a higher level at this point. And then the false flag shooting, I don't know about the one at the Dunblane School in Scotland over 20 years ago. Stevie, what are you thinking?
No, the Princess Di thing, this is a pattern too. Why is it every time, there she goes, every time a CIA person, or in this case, an MI6 person is on their deathbed, they do their shoot interview and they tell the truth. And it just gets swept under the rug and nobody goes, because you have nothing to lose at that point. You're not willing, you're willing to do your duty and honor for so many years for the lettered the alphabet letter agency or your country, queen, whatever it is. And then you feel like you need to get this off your chest on your deathbed. Why doesn't it have any gravity? Like he told that the MI6 agent pretty much told the whole thing, the way it went down and how it was planned and knew everything. I don't get that. And it's just people, okay, well, no, I mean, one of the most beloved, for whatever reason, one of the most beloved public figures in the last century. And it's just like, whatever, maybe that is true. Who cares? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's all the fact that she wasn't an inbred Jed, too. And, they didn't want to keep the secrets, couldn't be trusted at that point, didn't prick the finger and take the omerta. Sally, what do you think?
Well, no, she wound up becoming, she got over it because she just wound up having all that, all that shit going down. And she was always right there with the people. Like she wasn't keeping herself back away from everybody like the rest of them did. So everybody just hung on to her and they loved her, and she was attractive. She didn't look like a 600-year-old mummy. So the fact that they just embraced her, and then at that point, she had to go and there was no other way.
Maybe she was always in public because they were always trying to kill her. So she had the
Exactly.
kids and stuff, huge shields.
Yeah, so
you're MK Ultra now, Ben.
Sorry, I'm just having to regulate here real quick.
Well, let's go to the JFK thing, which they pretty much have said this is kind of a direct correlation where CIA people, the guy on the deathbed, government documents, pretty much know that it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald. Pretty much know that there was something going on with a coup that day that they were trying to do. They pretty much assassinated him. Whether there was outside forces, but everybody goes, well, cool. Wait, I got a Facebook message. Got to check that. That's what these people are saying, not me. Well, our president was assassinated and the government lied to us. Okay, well, oh man, I gotta tweet out this new 9-to-5 toys deal.
Nice.
What the fuck, man. I buy you enough time.
Yeah, they're good. From James Swartz, Dear Horseman, thank you for making the mailbag a great part of the show, or the general neutral messaging holding device. But still, I enjoy hearing from the other listeners and their views and questions. So do we. On to my question. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Sheryl Sandberg, but she's some sort of executive at Facebook. And I recently found out that her husband died about 3 years ago when he suffered heart failure while on the treadmill in Mexico. While one would think the fatality rate is pretty high for healthy men in their 40s who use treadmills in Mexico, I suspect foul play. Given who his wife works for and the amount of information Facebook has, do you think the husband knew too much or was too close? My guess is Sheryl herself was getting ready to stooge something big, and this was their way of sending a message. Do you have any thoughts or further info on this? Further info, I don't. I have heard the name. Me personally sucking at running, being in Mexico on a treadmill sounds like fucking the seventh ring of hell for some reason, man. Like, I can't imagine it. It could be, You know, if you're also a high player at Facebook, to me, and this is me just speculating, chances are you like the cocaine because you can afford it.
See, dude, this for some reason my brain is scrambled. I think we've talked about this chick before.
Yeah, the name rings a bell.
When her husband died, we mentioned it.
Yeah.
It came up.
It would
right?
not
We
if it
did.
was 3 years ago, but we did mention something about it. Like,
We talked about it because we were because the guy was like a super workout dude.
yeah, there was some circumstances
imagined
surrounding
Stevie was
it
next.
during
We
something
do have a
going on with
treadmill coming,
Facebook.
by the way. It'll be here in a week.
Yeah. So if your wife gets a job for Facebook,
You're fucking done, bro.
you're fucking over.
Oh man,
But if you
it's
have
almost
any
like a
articles,
rib. Like he likes to work out, so we're gonna kill him on the treadmill. Then we can laugh about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like a heart attack on the treadmill.
Hey, he's
like
a runner.
Milligan.
Let's hit him with a car.
Yeah, exactly. There may be something there. I do remember us bringing this up vaguely, Sal. I mean, we cover so much.
Yeah, like it seems like it's stuck in my head, but I don't know. It's probably just scrambled brains.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think it was the same analogy of making fun of me about the working out,
Yeah,
and that's
it might have
about
been.
where we left it. I think because
Yeah,
it's just
because
like,
we
they got rid of him.
yeah, at that point we didn't have a lot of info on it, but I remember Sandberg and the fact that she was a Facebook exec and her husband
Yeah.
was a workout dude and got killed on the treadmill.
Yeah. So, please do some more research. Send us a link at BWO Stevie, at bin_Hameen, at Dead No Save on Twitter. Or if you don't do Twitter, you can always send it here, conspiracyhorseman@gmail.com. Appreciate the research and whatnot. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left, 9, 10, 11.
Oh, I don't think
11
I don't
left.
think we're
No.
gonna do it.
So
No Hans,
I'm going to do one more here,
Maybe
and I'm going to
one more,
skip.
please.
I'm going to skip ahead. Maybe we'll do a Ultra Kayfabe follow up later in the week here on Twitch. So if we do, we'll tweet that out. You'll get the notifications if you're a subscriber. But I'm going to skip to Greg Mosier, the guy who did our Conspiracy Horseman logo on the new shirts. So definitely gets a little priority right here. So from Greg, hey Horseman, last week's episode got me thinking about somewhat of a repressed memory I thought you might want to know about. First, when I started tattooing, I had to keep a day job, so I took a gig at a place doing production work, cleaning equipment for a lab. Decent pay, basic job, no biggie. I remember them saying if anyone asked, they do medical research and not to give details. Didn't think much of it because I wasn't focused on it as a career anyway. They did research on mice, rats, guinea pigs for cancer, tumors, etc., and all I had to do was dump the bedding from the used cages and run equipment through the pressure washer. After being there for a while, I started making small talk with the doctors, why did I say it like that? Doctors, who were all foreign, not that it matters, but interesting. I had started realizing that all the animals were clones grown in test tubes, born with variable diseases so that they could find ways to cure them. This was over 15 years ago, so I can only imagine what they can do now. Side note, the director of the program told me in an elevator once that he could levitate through walls if he wanted to. Totally unprovoked and awkward. Haha. Love you guys. I appreciate all the plugs and that you dig my artwork. Honorary horseman status one day. Haha. Take care, Greg. Honorary horseman status approved, brother. Cloning guinea pigs and that kind of stuff with diseases already in place. Very scary stuff of what they could be doing right now to wipe out a whole crop of animals, of what they want to do to release that in there that could then, be put into the wild for a eugenics program. That way it would be easy to do. Not that there's, guinea pigs running all over the place, but they can do it there. They can do it anything. Levitating through walls. I've been doing that. That's my finisher.
Well, now, if I want to find out if this guy was Scottish,
Yeah.
because I actually heard, like this is years ago, there was a Scottish guy who we met at the Ren Fair who said that there was a thing that guys would levitate through walls. Like they were trained to do that.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was like it was a thing that was actually trained to these soldiers to be able to, teleport or phase through walls. Not teleport, it was phasing.
Okay.
It was to leave this reality, pass through a wall, and then re-enter the reality. And
That's like the Flash.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Kitty Pryde. She was that was her deal. All kinds of stuff. But yeah, it was. I just when you said that, I thought about that. I was like, wow, I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that phasing either. I mean, I'm not sure which way to go with this one. And Greg, that's interesting. I know you're a Louisville guy, like Sal and I were for a while. And, I'm sure from UK to Louisville, U of L, there's some high-level science stuff going on. They use the university as a cover. And there's plenty of, stuff there with GE as one of their biggest massive compounds there. Huge buildings, huge campus. So they're talking about real high-level science and industry going on all in one city. So when it comes to cloning rodents, I'm sure that's been going on. Where have they gone from that? Is there human clones walking around Louisville now? I'm not sure.
I think they all work at Highland Coffee.
Dude, I was going to say they're not in the OVW audience because you're not going to clone those people. But
well, he did say they were cloning cows, right?
No, they're just rodents. They hadn't gone
rats,
that big.
right?
Now they're workers.
The Rizats. Yeah.
That's for Twink.
Yeah. But where are they going, man? That's interesting. That's just a funny thing if you're a doctor to turn and say to somebody in the elevator, I can levitate through walls.
I think he was just trying to pick them up or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Look at this, man.
Yeah. I think that'd be an interesting tattoo, the levitating through walls tattoo. But yeah, man, and all apologies because you guys are doing kick-ass job. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 emails we didn't get to. Perhaps Stevie and I, if Sal's around too, Thursday or Friday, we'll try and do a quick jump on and then get to these. So keep an eye on twitch.tv/conspiracyhorsemen. And keep them coming. If there's anything you heard tonight that you want to send an email on, conspiracyhorsemen@gmail.com. We'll try and throw that in to wrap it up, and maybe we'll even put it on the Friday locker room. I'm not sure yet. Big weekend coming up for me. I'll do my plugs at the end here, but Sally, what's going on with you, bro?
I'm gonna just steal the date. Gonna be doing the 30th. We're gonna be out in Rome, New York, doing All Bin.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that. It'll be good times. And then that's about it. There's a couple tentative things I'm waiting on. So if that changes, I'll let you know.
Awesome, man. And big props on the aviator goggles tonight. I was loving the look as well.
Okay, I've had these on for the past fucking year. I don't understand.
Not only last week.
You had a hat with a brim on it, I think, and that covered them up a bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
I guess.
Last week, yeah. Last week you had the Hogan.
Longer than Becky Lynch. She takes them off 3 seconds after she comes through the curtain.
I think Armand asked me. Armand's like, "Oh, those Becky Lynch goggles." I'm like, "Where the fuck are you been, man? I've had these for like a year and a half. I've had these on."
Last week you were Hogan'd out. You didn't have them on. I would have noticed.
No, I didn't. I did have the. I had the Shane.
Are you gonna wear them for the? Are you gonna wear them for the YouTube documentary, and you're going to wear them for the live podcast?
I might, just because that means the History Channel won't want it, because I'll be covered up and I'll have a retard helmet on.
Yeah.
That is the direct quote. So
that's one thing I actually have to get a hold of the talent agent this week for some other shit that after a meeting I have tomorrow. So I'm going to have to get that info from you, Stevie. So sorry to drag us back into that rabbit hole.
Who do we got to call? No, please don't. Do we have to do this again?
No. I'll shoulder this one. Don't worry about it. It's for
I'll do it. I don't care. I'm just like, I don't say anything anyway.
It doesn't have anything to do with horseman business. We'll talk off.
Going to be hunting like alien pedophiles that use children and stuff gold up their ass or something. I mean, I think it's interesting. It actually is not bad. That is not bad, actually, now that I think about it.
Copyrighted, so
at least we're going to have more of a chance of finding something with that synopsis than the other one.
Yeah, no, I'm meeting tomorrow with a chainsaw artist who you know,
What a coincidence.
I knew
Oh,
you'd pop that. He actually gets hired out. He did a bunch in New York City in one of the most famous cemeteries. They were going to lose a lot of trees. Like there's a lot of like Count Basie and a lot of famous people from the 40s, 50s are buried there, and they had him cut these huge statues. But I guess he's got like 54 trees already marked that they want him to do art on, and he's going to do a bunch of different pieces all at once with different chainsaw artists and possibly develop it into a show for one type of thing that way. So I got to talk to her about that because he doesn't have any connections. And then I wanted to talk to her about my girl Joanna Elise, who is just an absolute fucking beast on stage at 19 years old in stand-up comedy. Like young, attractive, lesbian, so funny, deadpan, just killing it on all the shows we do. And her window for a Netflix special is probably within the next 2 years to play into all those demographics. So some things I wanted to talk to her about. So I'll definitely, now that we're not off air, talk to you more about it that way. But Stevie, what do you got going on, man?
Well, we got the 30th. We got All Ben in New York, but also what I'm really excited about is what's going to happen around that. That's going to be, that's going to be us filming whatever it's going to be called on Giants, and we also have some backup conspiracy side quests, using a little D&D term there, Sal, and we're going to make the most out of our time there. I'm going to get in Friday morning. Everybody's going to be there. We're going to pretty much stay to whatever shooting schedule we can as much as possible, and then we have All Ben. We have the live podcast there starting 2:00.
Yeah, 2 p.m. We're starting there, so it'll be a good time, man.
Yeah, and we're just working on the technicalities of everything, making sure we have good audio, good video. So we really want to bring this to the people that can't be there that day. So by live, we mean there'll probably be some Facebook Live, Instagram Live, but we have a live audience, and then it'll go up on hackerhumming.podbean.com. Another thing, little bonus thing, once in a while, I'm going to be interviewing people in the health and fitness industry. So I interviewed somebody from Halo Neuroscience about the headphones that I talked about with neuropriming, and asked them a lot of questions about how it can help with possibly CTE and other things. So that's going up on the YouTube channel and also going up on the feed for audio.
It's up now.
Oh, it is up now.
Yep.
Thank you. You moved quick. So it's up now. You can listen to it. It's pretty interesting and fun. And besides that, at Stevie Richards on Instagram, at BWO Stevie on Twitter, 12-week resistance band training program at StevieRichardsFitness.com. The transformations this week, the results people posted on Tuesday have been incredible, and keep them coming. I mean, it's really inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm going to get my set in tonight after while I'm editing all this and everything starts compressing, because I've been busy doing social media for Humming Media all day long. So I feel like a slob, and not like I'm going to do it in a week to get to Stevie Richards level, but definitely inspiring. Love seeing everybody in the Stevie Richards Fitness Hacker Humming Media group, workout group, posting results, and just the likes and the shares and all that alone are definitely driving everybody. So please keep doing that, you guys. It's great stuff. And check out that Halo review. It's up at hackerhumming.podbean.com right now. This weekend, big tour, Canada. I'll be Saturday in Fort Erie with Bordertown Wrestling with my man Jay Moore, and then with Jay Moore the next night at Crossfire in Welland, Ontario on Sunday. And then I'll be doing the Megan Brothers show in Toronto in front of 500-600 Orthodox Jews at a synagogue. So that should be a good time for the Arab guy. And then obviously All Ben on the 30th. So we'll be back for the Horsemen before that, in between that week. Looking forward to being with all my brothers on that Friday and Saturday, touring throughout upstate New York. So if you see us, definitely it is us. If you see me walking with a giant and a jack guy and an angry little son of a bitch, that's the conspiracy horseman. And 6:30, if you can make it, it's going to be a great show at for All Ben in Rome, New York. I think Joe Gacy, that infidel super cop Dick Justice, all of us are going to be there. You never know what other surprises.
Dick Justice is going to be there.
Not Dave Justice. I'll beat him too.
I said Dick Justice. That's what I said.
Yeah, super cop.
Not Russo. I've never met him before.
Oh, you never met Dick?
Never met him before.
Yeah, well,
no, I never met him.
Get ready.
Oh,
to
by
beat
the way,
shit out of him.
is that the Jay Moore DJ Moore from Jerry Maguire?
No, he's
The one who does that sweet walking impersonation.
This Jay Moore's even better than that one. He's not a snowflake. So it'll be Jay Moore's done a great job. Manages myself, Congo Kong, and Phil Atlas. We got the strongest heel faction in Canada right now, and we're looking to take over all the indies up there. So nobody's safe. You never know when Congo Kong and Hacker Harmeen are in the house. Be looking over your shoulder because we'll come out and do whatever we want during your match, and nobody's going to stop us. But it's pro wrestling.
That's why I got confused. I got confused because, sorry to cut you off again, I got confused because you do the comedy and you do the wrestling. So when you say Jay Moore, I'm thinking, I'm sorry, I thought you were doing comedy.
No, I appreciate that because I want to thank our comedy sponsor at Comedy Central CNY, my man Phil Farda, for StagetimeTrivia.com, a big sponsor all this month and next month for sponsoring the show. Without Phil Farda and Comedy Central CNY and StagetimeTrivia.com, you can go there right now, save 10% using the code Hameen, and grab his system. You could be out at the bars making your money back night one. He's posting all these pictures with hot chicks out having a good night, man. If you got the inspiration to do so, go out and host a trivia night with all the jokes that are already written for you pretty much. You know, he's making $150, $200 a night, no problem whatsoever, having a good time. Also want to put over 350daysthemovie.com coming July 12th, one night only, 400 theaters. 36 wrestling legends tell their story of 350 days on the road and what a toll it took on their bodies, their families, addictions, getting over it, and the addiction of performing for all the fans out there. So go to 350daysthemovie.com, get your tickets for July 12th exclusive.
So that's like that show on the WWE where they sit in the car together and totally unscripted, and they just hang out and have a good time, right?
I don't know if it's them actually traveling down the road. It's more interviews of their careers from the last interviews of Superfly Snuka, Ox Baker, George the Animal Steel, and then there's $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Paul Orndorff, Bret Hart, Superstar Billy Graham, Wendy Richter. I mean, the list goes on and on. Lenny Poffo of who's in there. So definitely check out 350daysthemovie.com. We've had some exclusive interviews for the Friday Locker Room with bonus content. Hoping this week we'll have another one. But I had Evan Ginsberg and J.J. Dillon so far. So appreciate those sponsors of the Hacker Hameen media platform. I also just got a bunch of great beard products from CanYouHandlebar.com. So I want to thank them. Review video for that coming soon as well. And thanks Stevie for the amazing email that I copied in order to make that happen. So CanYouHandlebar.com if you need great beard products. As you can see, I'm well oiled and everything's nice and soft as the wife likes it.
Oh my God, we're heading to fucking Alex Jones territory now. We gotta stop, man. This is a lot.
Sorry. And finally, as always,
Well lubed. I'm lubed up.
ProWrestlingTees.com/Ben
What are they called? What are those vitamins called?
What, beard care?
Extendivites.
Oh, Extendivite.
Yeah,
Extend your life with
Extendivite.
Extendivite. Yeah, for sure. All of the drugs and whatnot. We're not selling drugs just yet, just beard oil. But appreciate you guys. Appreciate Raymond Wiley, an awesome guest tonight. Yeah. Just a great show all the way around. I'm super pumped. You know, when the time flies like it has, that it's been a good one. And, hopefully we'll welcome back GGP on Wednesday next week. And we'll decide what rabbit hole we're going to go down. But y'all law infidels, it's Wednesday night, twitch.tv/conspiracy horseman, realm, Russo brand, hackerhameen.podbean.com, iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play Music, because that's where you can find the Conspiracy Horsemen. Y'all law.